And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button down there. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. Every little bit is appreciated. And, of course, the StreamYard link is there for anybody who wants to join the panel. Today, we're going to be talking about the elements of indemnification. And so I've got a bit of information lined up. It'll probably be a while. So grab your pen and paper and ready to take some notes. And like I said, feel free to join the panel. Always appreciate support in that way. And we are going to get into it with indemnity. Where are we at here? Indemnity and what it means in insurance and the law. Let me get full screen here. You guys can see it clear. Get rid of our ad. Indemnity, what it means in insurance and the law. Of course, it's from Investopedia, and it's the thing you see as the thumbnail. And it very concisely says, indemnity, compensation for damage or loss, or an exemption from liability for damages. It's one or the other. And as you guys are quite familiar with the insurance contracts you've signed all your life, the basic content was all about compensation for damage and injury. That's what they always talk about. They never talk about the liability side as an exemption. Not once. So it says, indemnity is a comprehensive form of insurance compensation for damage or loss. Okay? And a lot of people think when they come across this term comprehensive that it means it's studious and you have to be very knowledgeable and this and that. And actually all it means is you just need to comprehend. And so by taking things out that don't need to be there and making things simple helps you comprehend things much better. In my opinion, of course. I think many people make things way too complicated. So it says, indemnity, let's finish up. It says, when the term indemnity is used in the legal sense, it may also refer to an exemption from liability for damage. But it, again, like I said, it's never spoken of. And again, these are just references. See, policy, code, acts, ordinances, edicts, and stuff like that. Those are just references to law, telling us that they've been translated somehow from law. Indemnity is the part about making all parties whole. Okay? It's the same thing as redemption. Leviticus 25 verses 23 through 25. Indemnity is a contractual agreement between two parties. So in equity, I'm the beneficiary. But in that beneficiary capacity, I have to help them understand how things work. And they're studied in contract. So I have to put forth a contract and qualify the terms. Now, if I don't know this, and I go through a life of contracting and not knowing my place in the contract and having good faith that these other people do and that I'm supposed to benefit from that, like contract terms and conditions say, equal consideration, equal benefit, which again, I've said for many years now is the basic concept of contracting, and that's between two parties in private. There's no qualified third party to intervene. In this arrangement, one party agrees to pay for potential losses or damages. Pay for potential loss or damage. This is telling us this is something that's prepaid, like I said with the prepaid insurance, prepaid expenses video I did a while back. See, potential loss or damage means something that could be, but isn't yet. So it's a prepaid expense. Greetings, John. How you doing today?
Good, Brother Keith. Doing really good.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah.
Are you understanding what that means here? Potential losses or damage? Do you agree? That means it hasn't happened yet because it's only a potential at this point. And therefore, if we're making one party agrees to pay for, means we're paying for it now for something that hasn't happened yet.
Right. And like from Barron's, it says it's just an obligation to make good any loss or damages, or any loss or damage another person has incurred or may incur. So we don't know what's going to incur.
Correct. And this is the importance of the question. And remember, it was very well stated, and I don't think there's another man or woman that's of an adult age that has been through a decent education that doesn't know this saying. To be or not to be? That is the question. So the to be part is that if there's a potential for loss or damages, that's the to be part. Now the not to be part is that it's not to be that I'm held liable for the damages because here's the surety. It's already there. That's what I've been telling people. It's already there. The surety is Keith Orland Little, all uppercase, as it is on that bond, which is a surety bond. And then you, as the living soul, are the underwriter of that bond, and you're supposed to underwrite the indemnification in equity for private issue of a private placement for private relief law through private equity. And remember, even the scripture says that those who follow the law without knowing the law are a law unto themselves. Private relief law. My law. Greetings, Russ. How you doing tonight?
Greetings. Doing well. Hope all's well with everyone else. Much love.
Absolutely. Great to have you. Yep. And so we see there's that source of credit again. What you put out is supposed to come back. And that's that thing about indemnification, making all parties whole. That includes you. Customer agrees to make third-party payment for the surety so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account. It all correlates. So let's continue on. And like I said, everybody's familiar with insurance contracts by now. It says a typical example is an insurance contract in which the insurer or the indemnitor agrees to compensate the other, the insured or the indemnity, for any damage or losses in return for premiums paid by the insured. So who are the insured parties in a public contract? The public officials. One of those elements of that surety is that, like I said, all caps name. And so when you give them that name, somewhere in the system it pulls up that all caps name as the source. And instead of being recognized as a creditor and indemnified, it's recognized as a debtor under a surety. That's all that's got to be corrected. It's the correction of the record. And again, it's nobody else can do it. You have to. It's a prepaid expense, meaning you have to set forth your word and let them know, rightly dividing the truth, what parties are what. and this is the prepaid expense. You can't hold it against me. And again, I want to refer to Revelations 18:6, where you're supposed to double things up. To the insurer, paid by the insured to the insurer. What is a premium? Well, first, meanings in finance. What is finance? Settlement. Premium, definition, meanings in finance. Meaning in settlement. So when you prepay it, you financed it. You settled it already. It's already settled. What is done is what ought to be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Premium has several meanings in finance. Most commonly refers to generically a security trading above its intrinsic or theoretical value. You gotta double it up. If you don't, they will.
What do you mean by double it up, Keith? The value of the credit?
Whatever they're issuing.
Right.
They issued a $350 bond for the failure to appear for jury duty. And like I said back then, that's too weak. That's too weak. You want to play at the big boys table? This is a big poker game, folks. Double it. Oh, I'll see your 350 and raise you 350. Or no, I'll see your 350 and raise you 700.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll see your 350 and raise you 700. That's 1,050. Now, if you want to come forth and show your hand, please do so. The only way he can do that is by calling. Did he call right? He has called me by thy name. It's a true calling. Don't try to bluff me, motherfucker.
So, Keith, they need the insurance. We're pre-insured by God.
Yeah, right? And so what we have to do is everything's been bifurcated and subrogated. So in that path of that person coming into existence, when he came into existence, it was bifurcated. It was split into two. And they took the upper path and set us down here. We got to flip it. No, we've ascended. You're always the fiction. You're always subordinate. You're always in an underwriting position because men are conscripted like angels and are not meant for reading and writing, for that is their downfall. My yea is my yea, my nay is my nay. What do you say? You want to call his bluff? I don't think it's a bluff. So the next one says, with indemnity, the insurer indemnifies the policy holder. So this is what happens when you get into an accident. The insurer indemnifies you so you don't have to pay the claim. So that if somebody else suffers, say, $5 million worth of damages and medical expenses because they went through amputation of double limb amputation and this and that, and they're living the rest of their life in need of public assistance through general welfare and stuff, you're going to be able to pay that? No, but the estate can, and that's all they're doing. It's an electronic credit transfer. That's all. It's a creation of money through a credit system so that anybody that needs it, they can provide it, and that's merely providing of a paper document showing that they are qualified to receive those public assistances. That's public monies, not private monies. But it's based on the credit of the people. That is, promises to make whole, promises to pay. They can only do it through promises to pay the individual or business for any covered loss. Can you make the man whole after he's suffered 2 limb losses? Anybody?
Doubt it, not completely. It's impossible.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly. So
And
we
it-
have something here that is not quite equitable in that sense. And that's the only fault. And this is one of the reasons that they actually merged equity with common law, is because it helps prevent the death of people that are wrongly convicted, as well as provide for a relief in remedy in their monetary system, so that a man, even though he's on his own now and has to depend on public assistance, will get it. Because we as people owe no man anything but to love them. And if we don't show our love for people that have been through atrocious things like that because of some accident, then who are we? Accident, under the transportation title, continuous and repeated exposure to the same conditions that caused a public liability where the insured never expected nor intended. An indemnity clause is standard in the majority of insurance agreements. However, exactly what is covered and to what extent depends on the specific agreement. So their agreement as public officials with a surety bond company covers them for contracts, not the trust. You have to express the trust, and it's a revocable trust by a foreign grantor. And you're going to grant that trust with the same surety companies at the municipal level, the county level, the state level, and the national level. 4 bonds for a municipal amount, county amount, state amount, federal amount. We're going to go over a document tonight to show those. And it depends on specific agreements and not generalities or particulars. This is rightly dividing the word of truth and making sure that the true parties are known. The real party in interest, the principal, the obligee. The next one we're going to look at, I've been looking at the wrong one. The next one we started on was the premium. It's a security trading above its intrinsic or theoretical value. Like I said, it's a big poker game, and you're having documents in contrast to a discount. Remember, you go to a bank and you get a loan, right? What do? They take it to the federal discount window. That's the wrong place. And it's all about placement, because that's a public discount window. And we need to acquire a private placement for extension of credit for its true value. You want to come play with me now? The difference between the price paid for fixed income security and the security's face amount at issue is referred to as a premium if that price is higher than par. Like I said, you put anything you want on that table, I'm going to double it up. Come get some. The purchase price of an insurance policy. So you purchased an insurance policy. You just purchased some paper. Commercial paper. You purchased some commercial paper. What did you purchase it with? Other obligations and securities of the United States? Is that your money? No, it's all public monies. Or the regular payments required by an insurer to provide coverage for a defined period of time. That defined period of time is 1 month. You pay it every month. Why are you paying something every month like that, when you can make a one-time prepaid payment revocable for the lifetime of the estate. The total cost to buy an option contract. What's the option? And you're buying the option contract. Understand what you're buying. You're buying their fiat paper. That's what's at issue. And you're supposed to be the seller because they offered you something to purchase. That's a purchase order. They're the seller, or they're the buyer. What are they buying? You didn't know there was another side of that, did you? So now you have to understand that when we're talking about the indemnification, we're the ones that are supposed to be putting up a surety bond, and that's the birth certificate bond with the surety therein named already. Greetings to people. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm just coming in. I'll add when I get an opportunity. This is Morpheus.
Absolutely. You cannot disassociate that voice. It was so great to hear it when I first was going to tell the people anyway. Brothers and sisters, welcome to King Morpheus.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, and man, I've been wanting to. I just been a little inundated with family and stuff over the past few days. So many people transitioning around me, and others who have been, they are in the military-based hospitals right now, including my mother, who was she was retrieved last night. We're actually on the other day, and then she had another episode. And maybe somebody can. I know a lot, but when you get into a certain situation, you can't fucking think. And excuse my French, but
Not an issue.
um, but it was just she's had bleeding from her stool, but she did take the jab. Um, you know, and I see a lot of the activation from my perspective from the time that those vacs were instituted, and those who participated. It has a regimen and time for each individual. Your own biology. It has a different effect on everybody's biology, and my mother's she's about to be 77 years young. My father will be 80 in December. And man, I'm the one. I'm the black sheep in the family. Everybody looking for me with solutions and things like that. But it's never been any real camaraderie when it comes to, once you get attacked, you could know all the truth, just like you putting down right now, just like you've been putting down, just like we've all been putting down. But you can know the truth, but there's so many indoctrinated people around you that they become your enemy. And so you become the enemy of your estate. And the enemy of your estate is when they can't rely on uh, your righteousness, if you will. And it's just been a rough road, man. And that's why I haven't been on certain platforms and things like that, because we all know this remedy. We all know this shit is about taxes, and you hit on so many things the other day, especially when it came to the estate and trust accounts and things like that. And I've been telling people forever, I'm like, when they kidnap you and they take a man off the street, off the land, and they take you into their environmental protection under public safety, because they do everything under public safety. When
Yeah,
they do that,
that's that foundling hospital where you are
mhm,
abandoned. It's an abandoned estate because mom transferred the estate and didn't qualify anything. So it was
exactly,
presumed abandoned. It didn't have an executor or anything.
exactly, and what people don't understand, you were deported. You were deported at birth from day one. You were deported when they just, and you said it perfectly. And I wanted to come in so bad the other day, but you said it perfectly. when they transfer that birth certificate to the counties, and the counties don't transfer it to the treasury, they keep it as a decedent's estate, as if the child there were two dates of so-called birth. You had your born day, and then you had your birthday, and that
Three,
birthday,
three,
right,
three,
right,
three. You've
and,
got
and
the day that you were born. You've got
right,
the day that the birth clerk signed it,
registry, right, exactly,
and then you got the day that the registrar filed it, which is signed at the
exactly.
state.
Exactly. And under the banking laws, under that registry, it's actually 5 days. See, they got you fucked up already, because it's really supposed to be it's a 5-day, truth in lending is a 5-day business transaction. That's why they have to they got 2 days
Well,
to it.
you got to remember, I'm old and I was born before it, so there's an exception.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm 69, and I just know from what I
Yeah,
understand,
yeah, it
it's
doesn't apply to us, but for the more modern, because we got that electronic system since 2006.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was born on the 9th, but the actual birthday is on the 14th. That's when they send it to the county, and the county was supposed to send it to the actual treasury as a living being. A being was born, or a natural being was born, and that estate and account was set up from day one. And they
Right,
have,
and that's that bifurcation that I was talking about. They bifurcate it and that's subrogated. So instead of
yes,
sending it to the Treasury, they send it to the Department of Commerce in the state.
So
that's
the
right.
state basically, so that then wouldn't the state basically have adopted you and
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
then created all these policies and procedures to get you to adapt to?
Yep.
I mean,
because
Adopted as a resident.
they knew one day
yeah.
that you would adopt that name, that calling, that was bifurcated and put into that legal form, and that's why they're attacking the youth so early now, because they can't wait for them to get 18 or more. See,
No.
you're supposed to be coming into control of your estate and account at age 18, once you become age of majority. But they can't wait now. They want to get you coming straight out the hospital, because the
Well,
whole process at the hospital is an abandonment process.
right. And remember, your stages in life are by 7 years. So you got the first 7 years where you're an infant, the next 7 years where you're a child. Now you've got a period of years where you're 14 to 18, like he was saying, but generally it's 14 to 21, because
Mm-hmm.
the age of majority used to be 21, and they're changing that. Like you said, they're coming after the children younger and younger. So at
Yeah.
age of 14, you're supposed to start practicing the estate.
And that's what they do, and that's what and this is what they do. This is what they teach the so-called young Jewish children. See, they don't they started learning about the estate and trust at 14. Our
Right.
children, are sent off to 4 more years of slavery. After the 12 years of slavery, they go off into we have been, oh, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to do this and that. And when I tell my young people, and the little people, show me how many. If you just look at your life and look right in front of you, how many adult males or feminines uh, have done anything that they went to school for? It's
Yeah.
like 2%.
Yep. Absolutely. I've got um, a friend of mine's got a daughter that is just immaculate when it comes to nature and animals and stuff. And she went to school to be a veterinarian. She's working out here at John Deere, running
Yeah,
a forklift.
see what I'm saying? And that's the closest thing she could come to nature, because see, they denied her birthright, and they subjugated it into the legal system, whereby she's still deemed a ward. See what I'm saying? And that's what these counties get. They get awards. They get awards for these foundling. Like, that's why they attack so many people on the street, on the side of the road, because they're saying that you are a man of unknown parentage. You are a
Yep.
woman of unknown parentage. So we have to take you into our care. When you go to the damn jail, when they take you to the county jail, they take you to a hospital. You
Yep.
are
And
being
And that's why I said yesterday, folks, again, I reiterate, your mother is your next of kin.
Mm-hmm.
There is but one Father which art in heaven. So why are we going by a patronymical name or a surname?
Yeah,
See, that's a
that,
distinct problem of following the laws of nature and her God.
that's right, and that's what, and you said it so beautifully the other day too. That was the attachment, that surname, and all of us, when you get pulled over by the military officers and shit, they you tell them you're calling, and then they say, and what's your last name? And so
Right.
anybody with a last name is a decedent, because only decedents have a last name. I could be an asshole today and fuck you,
Well,
bitch,
and
tomorrow.
and and the premise is that the true grammatical expression, if there's going to be a surname at all, it's going to express a trust,
Mm-hmm.
and a trust shall not fail for want of trustee. So a very simple expression of a trust relating to the surname is the all caps last name or surname, full colon stop. That's an entitlement, and it has the surname of the grantor that so entitled him to life.
You absolutely right, and I'm
He was the one that fertilized the seed of the mother. So you should have a mother's maiden name there as a joinder.
mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell you this too. And I've said it several times on Malika's platform and others. But when I was a really big Patrick Divine follower. I mean, I listened to this man day in and day out until I got it. And when you were talking about the sureties and everything, one of his last famous recordings before he transitioned, he talked about the SF forms, the SF30, the SF 14, 15, 14, 17, and all of those forms. It bypasses some of the other things that we like you were talking, and some of the things that you are qualifying, because I got my $1 billion birth certificate bond. I got all that shit. I got all of those indemnification excuse me, indemnification. I still can't say the shit. Indemnifying documents, and I'm well aware of everything that you have brought forward. But what he did, and if you look at that SF30 and the SF 14, 15, and 17, those are they have only the SF30 doesn't have an OMB number. That is a personal, because we always
Because
talk,
that's your private issue.
right, because we always talk about Article 1 and Article 3, but there's an Article 4, and Article 4 is the people. That's our
Right.
court. That's our
Right.
court. And nobody knows this, and that because common law has been merged with civil law, and they have just blended the legalese into misinterpretation. That's why you need a fucking liar to fucking interpret it, because you don't speak that language. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I know, and this I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna land my plane, because I I can be demonstrous. But when I asked the court, and this is what sealed it for me, when I asked the court to produce the W-9 and the 1040 and the 1099s associated with that case, they ran the fuck away. You hear me?
I want to specifically see the 1099K.
Yes.
See, the 1099K is specific to how much you've made in payments.
Exactly.
Showing that you made payments anywhere. If you
right.
don't have, and it's lowered to $600 a year now. It used to be thousands.
Yeah.
Now it's down to $600. If you make payments of $600 or more, they have to send you a 1099K. I never received one. And if I never received one, then the IRS never received one. This is what PayPal tried. This is what PayPal tried playing with me. And I said, no. You're supposed to send me a 1099K if you have evidence that I made $600 in payments or more. Now, if
Yeah.
you don't have evidence of that, then you don't have any right to tell me I have to communicate with Congress, because you haven't even sent me the proper form saying you got one from the IRS. Oops.
Absolutely, and there it is right there, and it's all under they make that surety bond, they send that shit to the IMF, and it's transferred over to them, and that's the banking system that they're using for you. Like when you do 93 days in jail, that's a maturity bond. All bonds have
Yep.
all bonds have a maturity date. So when they give you 90 days, and then you get out on the 93rd day. And then you just like you said, they have you sign that release. You just release the funds to them.
See, and that's the important part to remember, folks. That's a release. You're releasing your personal services so that you can continue distributing those funds and accepting payments.
And
you're not supposed to be doing that.
Yep, and if they fuck you once, they're gonna fuck you twice, because they want to see what if you like. I sent in a lot of paperwork, right? But I didn't execute the shit when I was free. When I didn't execute the shit when I got free, now I'm a target for them, because they like I know he knows, but what the fuck he gonna do about it?
Well, and see, another thing I want to remind everybody, that last case I was in with that traffic citation that they got me for 6th offense, I deposited a birth certificate in evidence. The problem was I didn't make the indemnification agreement with it. I was so fucking close.
Yeah, and you still that still is relevant.
But that shows intent.
Yes.
That shows the intent.
Except
because they did in fact receive the surety, which is who the defendant is.
Yeah, and when I went outside, I had to learn that you got to go outside. You can't go to the fucking criminals that fucking did the shit to you to fucking get redressed. You got to go above the head, just like you said. You got to deal with the corporate officers. When I contacted the Office of Administrative Courts here in Michigan, brother, they immediately, I sent them letters of genocide, kidnapping in progress, all this shit for my daughters. Some young man had hit my daughters. It was a hit and run in the wintertime. They made them crash into a snowbank and shit. These motherfuckers came and arrested my daughter and her little baby friend. And man, I was on the phone for fucking 2 hours with the fucking Oakland County sheriffs, telling these motherfuckers they better release her, and sending emails and every motherfucking thing. But when I went to outside of them and went to the administrative court, they got right on that shit. But I still didn't know how to get closure. You know what I'm saying? And for them to be like the T.R.S.V.A.N.T in Tampa. T.R.S.V.A.N.T, I'm sure you're familiar with that case.
$26,000.
Yep, for fucking 26 minutes on the side of the road.
Yep.
Hell,
$1,000 a minute.
Yes. And man, I'm telling you, I sent that shit into them, man. They shut the fuck up. They let them go that next motherfucking morning immediately. But it made me more of a target too. And that's why I was so careful over the years of like sharing this with just anybody. You know what I'm saying? You talking to your homeboys, you talking to your family, and then you want to, give your knowledge out to them. But I don't want you to get killed, motherfucker. I need you to really understand what this is. You know what I'm saying? I got, man, it's so many brothers I have helped get lesser time and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Oh my goodness. But if we don't put them on notice, and if we don't let them know, and see, the thing about it is you do need more than one person. I don't want to be the only motherfucker, because see, if they take me off the planet right now, well, my family done.
Yeah, and again, that's why the important thing, you can feed a man a day by giving him a fish. You can feed him for a lifetime by teaching him to fish, and that might seem extraordinary, but the most spectacular thing is that if you teach him to fish and he has these sensibilities to turn around and teach others, that is the true lesson. That is the true benefit. Is the knowledge, not the doing, the knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And if you teach him how to you know, be one of the land, then the lake is yours forever. It's not just the lake is yours forever. That is what the Christ in you, he created abundance already. You already have everything that you need on this planet. And you just have to be willing to go do it.
Yep. Now, let me continue on here real quick, and I appreciate all your input here. An indemnity agreement has what is called a period of indemnity. This is what he was talking about with warranty period and a maturity. Okay? Warranty period, which is a period of indemnity, or a specific length of time for which the payment is valid. And in a regular insurance agreement, it's 30 days. That's not what they're supposed to be doing. I believe there's a minimum of a 90-day, and many times it's more specifically 1 year, 10 years, or more than 10 years. Similarly, many contracts include a letter of indemnity which guarantees that both parties will meet the contract stipulations, or else an indemnity must be paid. So, let's take a look at this. I believe it's this one here. Okay, we have a surety that has an indemnity agreement with the principal, who is showing that they have a contract to an obligee, who has a bond with the surety. We got to switch the bond around. We have a bond with the principal in trust already. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we give the surety company a bond like we're supposed to, with an indemnity agreement, it now bonds the surety company. God damn it, my mouse is screwing up again. And now we have a bond matched up with indemnity here, and now the surety is holding a bond, holding the principal in contract to the obligee. That contract's always going to remain. Equity merged with common law. Common law is the contract law.
Mm-hmm.
Equity is the trust law. Now we've got a defined trust where we have an indemnity agreement, and the surety is holding a bond for the principal and the obligee. And each one has the equal consideration. This bond has equal consideration of indemnity, and the equal consideration of this indemnity is going to show the bond.
Absolutely.
Bond to bond. Now it's a matter of war. What is it? Battle of the forms.
Yeah.
Those are war rants.
Yeah, and another thing too, that not only that, these counties cannot afford every case. Every case has to be bonded. They have to have that indemnity insurance on their half too, in case they fuck around and find out. And every case has to be bonded. There is no way as many people as they kidnap off the land every day, and all these fake ass attorneys can come in these courts, and every case is bonded properly, and it's not done because they know that we don't know this part. See what I'm saying? They had to put their bond up for the liability bond that they are under. And what I found out here, and you said it, and it's farmers insurance here in Michigan. They're under, and all of them, each, and see, I hate when people call all these motherfuckers officers, because they're not. Only officers are elected officials. They are the ones who have an oath of office. The rest of these motherfuckers are hired killers. They're just hired pretenders out here raping the land. And that's inland piracy. What they're doing is inland piracy, and they're modifying everything with our lack of knowledge, using that instrument called the driver's license, which makes you an employee, if you will, of their corporation. And failure to produce that identity is when they'll still kidnap you just to verify your shit. But if like, you know, they'll steal your car and they'll say, well, you were driving on a suspended license. Well, that if it's suspended, then therefore you can't write any bonds against it. See what I'm saying? But they create a presumption of you still are operating in that capacity. Go ahead.
Absolutely right. There's a presumption that you're acting in the same performance as one in functioning in office, public office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what it pays.
So let me finish up here. Like I said, it's a battle of the forms, and that's the meaning of war rants. Indemnity refers to the full amount of compensation you would need to recover. So when you indemnify yourself, you're going to tell them what you would need to recover. The next one, like I said, the warrants. These are specific cum warrants. Coincidentally, that would be like a Latin term, I'm sure. We haven't discussed that yet. Cum warrant, a security where the buyer is entitled to the warrant even though it was declared prior to purchase. Prior to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Entitled to the warrant. See, if they attach a warrant to a bond, that shows they're indemnified.
And the birth certificate is a warrant.
And it was declared prior to purchase. Cum warrant. Coincidentally.
Yeah,
Did you folks know that pollution is literally defined as the discharge of semen without intercourse?
Mm-hmm. So that would be a man playing with himself.
Yep. Cum warrant may be contrasted with ex warrant or compared with cum dividend. Ex warrant. Ex warrant describes a condition when a warrant is not passed on to the buyer as part of buying another security. So you're going to sell them a security, but you're not going to pass on the warrant. In this case, the seller of a security that has had warrants attached would keep the warrants rather than the warrants being passed to the buyer. See, if you issue a warrant first, doesn't that sound like a secured party, the one with the first lien?
Mm-hmm. Because and what they doing is under their Secrecy Act, it's called booty and prize. So when they capture one of the people on the land and bring them into for indemnity, they are capturing that vessel that was docked at the hospital and transferred as a ward to the state. And that's
It was intercepted by a revenue cutter.
Yes.
You know what's interesting?
An extension of the Coast Guard through the Marines inland for administration of executions. Go ahead.
I said, you know what's interesting? Because remember when I told you I was reading those people that have to have those Series 63 license are the ones that are handling this securities. But they're also with that SS16, that's where is that where they're getting the orders to solicit these?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Everything's a presumption. I do know that they administrate licensees.
Right. So they're giving the license to solicit the orders. And what you're talking about here, it would appear.
Right. That's why you can't. That's why you can't placate privacy if you're giving them a public ID.
Right.
You gave them a license saying you are under administration.
Yep, and a license is permission to do something that would otherwise be unlawful.
And I think
And that's
another thing I was trying
and
to
that's
get is,
and that's the right to convert private property into a public investment, so long as they don't know.
Exactly.
Okay. Can I just say that there's no involuntary servitude, even in the statutes?
Correct.
That's all. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's
No,
the abolishment of slavery, but the abolishment of slavery was one thing, and the implementation of Amendment 14 of the U.S. Constitution tells us that we are all acting in the capacity of a corporate person in a public office.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember I was wearing my military garb. My father is a veteran of the Air Force, and he handed down his garb and things to me. And the day I got kidnapped and molested, it was horrible. It was 7 years later for fleeing and eluding. They charged me with fleeing and eluding because this asshole pulled up behind me, and I was like, "Fuck you!" I'm like 2 minutes from my house, and I'm like, "Fuck y'all! I'm going home." And it was beautiful, Keith. I got all this on video too, but I had my seeds. It was like shit. We didn't come home till like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, but it was a very nice summer night. The kids were outside, the fireplace going. So they were woke when my wife and I pulled up. But as we pulled up, they were in pursuit of me. And because they had their cameras on and things like that, I didn't get, murder suicide or what I'm saying, I didn't get deleted at that time. But they wanted to, and it was just all based on a 7-year theory that I had fought privately again in their administrative court, but didn't know how to really go outside of it and do the IRS and the SEC and things like that. But the moment I put them on notice of the IRS forms that I needed in order to move forward, they fucking backed the fuck down. And that's when I knew.
Yeah.
That's when I knew that it was all about taxes and that they are bringing you in as a tax protester, when in all actuality, under Title 26, they're actually saying that you were moving in commerce and you had some type of business purpose. And so therefore, as a public official, assumed we can do this.
Yep, absolutely. And then watch what happens here. Says warrants can be bought and sold. And like I said, they're attached to bonds or securities and are sometimes combined with other securities to entice investors to purchase those securities. When warrants are attached with other securities, telling us that warrants are securities, bonds are securities, indemnifications are securities, sureties are securities. There's all those fiat terms are securities. They will trade together. Once a warrant goes ex warrant, it becomes its own product, private.
And when I sent in my I had my wife, because I was prepared, because I was already being a target. And let me tell you this really short.
Well, real quick, let me finish up here real quick first, brother.
Go ahead.
Because I want to mention entice, because we are talking about notice as versus to entice. First duty in law is legal notice. Understand how they've converted the language, because this is specifically pronounced entice, right? So why are we taught to pronounce notice as notice? So that there's a delineation and it's harder to recognize how they coincide. I am not entering into your investment. There will be notice. You have to accept my monetary value. And it's twice what yours is, baby. At least.
Oh yeah, and that's because, like I said, because under they operate under the Supreme Court and all these attorneys. Like there's man, I got a whole list because I had to. Now this is what happened in my situation when they went through my foreclosure on the address at my home. They sent these all these motherfuckers work together. So we had this attorney firm from the county who does this to they called Trot and Trot here in Michigan, and they actually have they are Delaware corporation, and what they do is they brought a false claim. I had J.P. Morgan Chase executives had to fucking they had to say that they had no agency connection with them. They used J.P. Morgan Chase because me and my wife tried to do a refinance. I bought my home off of a land grant, off a land contract with a private owner. And then we tried to get some refinancing, got into the little fucked up banking shit. Then they start coming with the little fake ass, you owe us this, pay us this every month, da da da. And my wife was all down with it because she didn't know no better. But what happened was they sent this attorney firm that does all these fake closures, and they use the county and the city to operate in this whole form. And when it came down to it, they had to admit, and this was the Article 3 court, right out of Ohio, Article 3 court here in Michigan, but it's Michigan territory, but the jurisdiction for the court, Article 3 court, is in Ohio. So when I filed my claim, which was accepted, I never got any due process. My wife and I, we never were heard personally, physically. They did everything on the lower level. And it got throughout for 12B5 and 12B6. Okay, it wasn't that everything that I had it all listed: racketeering, Title 15, 1 and 2, all that shit, because I knew all that shit. You hear me? And I had them. It was $100 million per corporation, and $1 million per agent. And so we had the county, these attorneys, and everybody else played the motherfucking role. I hadn't been paying no water bills. I hadn't been paying no goddamn consumer bills. I was
Yeah, and
sending.
see, and real quick here, guys, what he's talking about here is that indemnification across the board through the local surety companies. Again, 4 bonds: one for the municipality, one for the county, one for the state, and one for the federal, for
Yeah,
the domestic tranquility and the general welfare and national security.
yeah,
So
they
it's
are.
talking about security instruments all the way trickle down. You ever heard of a trickle down charger?
Hell yeah.
The charge is going to trickle down. It's synonymous. The law is uniform throughout the jurisdictions. So I don't care if you're an electrician, a plumber, whatever. The language that we've been taught has been twisted, but you can
Yeah,
untwist it and see how it's pretty much the same language that everybody uses if you understand logic. There's
yep,
an order to it.
and yep. And I did this one simple thing too, y'all. And I'm just saying this for the people's concern. When they brought me into that Admiralty jurisdiction court, from what I had learned, and you gotta be a little brave to do this because they criminals. And what I did was she called the name of the other surety, and she said, "Can you state your name for the record?" And I said, "Excuse me." Now, I didn't say my honor or none of that shit. I said, "Excuse me. May I ask a question?" Before I answer that question, may I ask a question? She had no other reason than to say yes. I said, "If I state my name for the record, am I entering a contract with you?" She damn near fell off the motherfucking bench. Now, had I knew to do that in private, I would have never been in there. But because I got kidnapped and was forced to appear, I was under duress to appear. I knew that much, and when I said that, it was immediate release. She was like, she damn near fell off the bench, and she was like, "Get the fuck out of here! Get him the fuck out of here!"
Yeah, excuse me, but I'm the benefactor here to settle these matters as a matter of revocable trust, to make sure that his will is done, where there's no respecter of persons, and man became a living soul, and every breath I take is my yea or my nay. So be it.
Yeah.
What
And
they don't really, and understand, folks. They have microphones and cameras in those courtrooms that will pick up everything you say. It's
yeah,
already recorded.
yeah, and they also have those private, and this is another thing I learned too, because during that whole eclipse with my wife and I, during with the bullshit with them, they have there's a personal recorder who is an outside advocate who's not a part of their administration, that does the that the stenographer, that woman, that man or woman. I'm telling you, I went and personally got records from her. She knew everything I fucking was saying was right, and she was down with it. She was trying to give us background information, like you need to do this. I had to put in what we had in order to stop, because I fought these motherfuckers from 2007 to 2018 before they actually came and mobbed us and shit in front of my whole fucking valley. You hear me? They manipulated my wife and I. We were the last ones in our neighborhood. Everybody was losing their goddamn house. I was
Yep.
standing on my shit. And I fought these motherfuckers for all them goddamn years, and everybody was like, damn man, how you know all this? How you know? I didn't have no fucking attorney, none of that shit. I did it on my own. I was coming in as the benefactor over the estate, and that this was my motherfucking will, and that these people were violating every fucking natural law uh in the improper venue. As soon as they filed that shit about a foreclosure or put eviction and take you into that administrative court, all you got to do is do the little removal, because see, they already done. They can't adjudicate on any land. They are not land courts, and they have no jurisdictional venue. Those are corporate entities and
Yep.
uh, corporate statutes only for their employees or residents. And that's when I got on that motherfucking resident shit, and understanding what the hell that was. And I keep on telling people, I'm like, I ain't no motherfucking resident. You know what I'm saying? I don't reside anywhere but in the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, exactly. And what we're looking at here, um, again, like I said, it's a matter of flipping the tables on them. And you spoke about that territorial stuff. Let me
Hmm.
pull something up here, because there's a territorial issue under 18 USC 7, special maritime territorial jurisdiction.
Yes.
Let me see here.
And if y'all look up what the county is supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be doing. They are not supposed to be on the land at all unless they're dispatched for an emergency purpose, right? Their limitations in these counties, they are they are their boundaries are the complex patrol is what these officers are supposed to be doing. So how the fuck did my driveway become a part of the fucking county?
Okay, so
Well, I'm beginning to think that they're just basically contractors, or let's say management companies or something that is holding these SS16s in these communities,
Yes, and they
creating that certificate of election.
yeah, private investors
Exactly.
private investors used as pirates on the land to uh basically do the fucking kidnapping and extortion of a
yep,
That's where, and that's also where the federal funding's coming in to the
yes.
local counties.
yep,
Yes,
they're
because
matching
They're
funds.
diverting it.
every time we register our kids in school, brother, every year when you register
Oh,
your
absolutely.
granddaughter or your children or any seed in your family, and you're part of doing the registration or whatever, they are getting 1.3 million, and it's probably more now, per motherfucking child. And we are supposed to be the under parents Patreon, they're saying that you just are a custody holder
Right,
of
a
this
foster
child.
parent, a foster
Yeah,
parent
right.
of
You
of
right,
adopted children.
right.
So let's continue on with surety. We've gone over this one before, how it works with bonds and distinctions. A promise by one party to take responsibility for another party's debts if the borrower defaults. A surety is a promise or agreement made by one party that debts and financial obligations will be paid. So the surety is the name on the document promising that it will be paid. That surety is the citizen. That's a United States business. That's United States obligation.
There you go.
So they're the ones that are obligated that it will be paid. So what do? You help them out. You're the creditors under the nation. So you
Mhm.
give them the funds to make sure that it's paid, and you help cover the entire surety bond. And how you do so? You double it. Guarantees that no matter what, even if the surety company can't cover it, you will.
hmm And nobody has a higher insurance policy than we do, because it's just like you said, that we have unlimited credit, and we have been participating, and this is what makes it really bad for the people, because we have been participating in this subjugation all our lives, unbeknown to you, but you have been a willing participant. And until you get the requisite knowledge, to reverse that and to understand that, they have been subjugating you from day one. And because, like, even the driver's license, there's $11 million insurance policy on the driver's license. They not killing motherfuckers on the side of the road because they black or white. They killing you because there's an insurance policy on that surety that was born into their administrative system, that they know 7% of us fucking know. And I'm not talking
Yeah.
about
Well,
7%.
what the one officer say when his partner ran over that lady in the crosswalk doing 74 mile an hour in a city street?
Right.
His officer said, "Well, he's doing what? Maybe 50, and what the hell? She's low value, 26 years old, low value. Write a check, $11,000." Started
Right,
laughing.
because she hadn't lived long enough to really build up her estate, so there, it is a minimum bond on her death. So we're not
Yep,
gonna.
exactly. So we continue on, and the last sentence here, I want everybody to pay attention. It's specific. Sureties can be made. You are the maker of the instrument. Your word is your bond. Coin them or purse them
Mhm.
by issuing surety bonds. So I got a bond from the state, and I can issue it as a surety bond because it's got the surety named on it,
Mhm. And
which are legal contracts obligating one party to pay if the other fails to live up to the agreement.
that's
So
right.
I get to express the trust and issue a a contract form to show the obligations, to point out the obligations, and make them distinct.
Because as far as they know, as far as the real administration of this country knows, is that you were born a decedent. It was never transferred. That treasury obligation certificate that we all received which was a put in call order for funds, for funding for that infant. It was they sent it to the county, but the county held on to it. They never sent it to the treasury, where that prepaid account under 411 and all the Bankruptcy Act is all inclusive in making you one of the people. They kept you as a citizen, or a subject of the state, by not transferring those documents to the proper authorities or the proper department in order for that child to be cared for. Everything that we do in our life from birth is prepaid, and everything that we want to do. So, like, if we want to take over that trust or that account, We have, because you can, like, you got a new baby. That's why that little foreigner that came over and he was putting his baby all up on YouTube saying, this is my money bag, this is my money back, because they teach these people, I believe, when they come over from all these other nations about this whole fucking process and how, every child is a security, you know what I'm saying? And so he was getting federal funding for the protection of that child. And that's the way it was supposed to go. The schools, anywhere you want to send your child to, any intellectual.
Every record throughout your entire life.
Yes.
And that's done by the enumeration. They create the legal name.
And that's what's being withheld from you.
And as it says,
go ahead, Keith.
Well, as it says how sureties work. As noted above, a surety is a guarantee or promise that assures payment through a legally binding contract. Under the agreement, one party promises to fulfill the financial obligations of the second party, the debtor, and fails to pay the third party creditor. So what we have is we have the United States obligations and other securities. If the second party, the state who created a United States business, supposedly with a communication with Congress, and that's just not so because they didn't have our consent. So it's a false issue to begin with. We can take it as beneficiary and control the settlement. And instead of making accusations and calling it false, we perfect it. We make it good. Make it good. Because we know it's not good, but we can make it good. We are a maker of an instrument with that in possession. It's a bond, an obligation of the United States that we can use to securitize our position in equity.
Yeah, and so they put all the other little distractions in front of us with this black and white shit, this civil war, this civil law, and all these other things, so that we would continue to be divided. And
real quick here, we're always the third party as the beneficiary benefactor. We're the ones that give the facts anyway. It's supposed to come back. Therefore, we are the creditor. Credit goes out, it's supposed to return. That's currency.
That's right. That's right. Equal consideration.
The next one we have is effect of acceptance. Notice of breach. You're not going to entice us into a breach. So we're going to show you the perfection, and that is a private issue out of probate. It's no longer a matter of administrating an estate. I have the surety right here, and it came from me. It's one of my real and personal effects.
Yeah.
Belongs to no one else, and only I can perfect that title.
And every time, and you talked about this too, when these clerks and at these county levels, these low level people, that's where the counterfeiting comes in. Just like these attorneys will come in and they'll see your address or some shit on LexisNexis, and they go in there and they just pick a list of 10 every day. Who we gonna fuck with? We gonna send them out a letter. Who we gonna fuck with? We gonna send them out a letter. And it's all about, and I'm telling you, you said something very powerful a couple of weeks ago about how, as soon as we get a ticket or something, everybody want to immediately, I'm finna file this with them. I'm finna do this and that. You are not qualified to file in today's shit.
Yeah, just hand it over to the IRS. I'm making a claim. I understand that as an issue of a probate court, it is a tax issue, and therefore I need to file a 14242 because I'm actually the benefactor, and I am in fact alive, and they have no right to administrate the estate of a person who's in fact alive, and let alone make it a tax issue.
Come on.
I'm not one of your public officials.
And if they get, I'm telling you, and that's why I really be hitting myself upside the head, because I've been so afraid to step forward because of because they will attack your whole motherfucking family. I have seen it. I have dealt with it personally. They come after you. They will come after your mama and daddy. They will come after your kids. They start fucking with everybody around me.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's why it's important to understand this paperwork. And I'm telling you, it's actually just like the English language. This financial setup is beautiful once you figure it out, and it really is kind of simple. So let's take a look at it. It says burden of establishing breach after acceptance. So if they haven't been given notice, then there is no establishment of acceptance. Therefore, you can't even make an issue of breach. Notice, this is why they don't hear you. You've never given them notice. Notice of claim or litigation to person answerable over. And again, like I said, if you're going to make a claim against the surety bond, it's to the surety company who is responsible to investigate. They're the ones that are bonded and given that surety, indemnification, everything to make sure the bond or the contract is both completed and paid for. And if there's a breach in either section, it's not completed. Therefore, nobody's getting fully paid because now they're no longer getting payments. That's their job. They're the ones that do the forensic audits.
Yeah, and that is proof positive, because when the last time I dealt with the Bellers, the motherfuckers came, because the court couldn't move forward because of my paperwork, and they kept on adjourning. And people don't understand. Once they adjourn it, that means they just actually dismissing it quietly. But you
Yep.
think you still got a case.
It's a recess. Yeah, it's
Right.
actually just in recess. There's
Right,
no without or with prejudice, nothing. It's just in recess, limbo.
Yep, but they were not communicating this to the surety bond company that my wife paid bail to, and them motherfuckers came and kicked in my door, kidnapped me again out of my motherfucking house, wanted to kill me in front of my motherfucking family, and then they found out they fucked up. But once they kidnapped me, they took me to jail on false pretenses all the way around. They even the sheriffs came up, pulled up all the computer documentation. It was like, oh shit, yeah, I fucked up. But y'all can take them. Y'all can take them anyway. And they took
me. Once we do this, like I said, it's a trickle down thing, and it should trickle down really quick here because it's an automatic system now. And so when those records are corrected from the SEC, it should go throughout all financial record keepers everywhere, and that's all of those public officials.
Yes.
Even restaurants and stuff understand how this works. In my determination is I'm going to go open up a account with the credit union. It's going to be a privately funded credit union in a contract agreement with the local credit union, so that it is not considered operating as a standalone bank or financial institution.
Yeah.
There's a private agreement, and they have a security instrument that's been securitized with the SEC. So now, if I go to the store and I'm issued a credit union card to go to the store, it should be a credit card. So when I go to the store, I get that receipt. All I got to do is go hand it back to the banker, and the credits will go straight back to my account. Customer agrees to make third-party payment so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, brother, man, that you so on point. And when I man, I lost my train of thought just then.
Well, let me continue on here then, because I want to get going on this. I want to be here for hours and hours, but at the same time, I appreciate everything you put in, and I hope everybody's paying attention. This stuff is coming from experience, and most of the experience you'll find out is we use different language. You really need to unlearn what you've been taught in that public education system when it comes to the English language. You do not understand it.
That's right.
Get back to concise English. So as we continue, it says, concisely, the buyer, and remember, in a purchase order, the issuer is the one that's buying. That means if they're going to issue you something, you're selling something. So what is the state buying when they sent me a birth certificate and I gave them $25? They bought access to the credit. I gave them information from a credit card. Okay.
Yeah. They attach themselves to you.
The buyer must pay at the contract rate for any goods accepted. So if I issue an indemnification bond, I'm the buyer, and I'm buying what from the surety company? I'm buying pay at contract rate for any goods accepted. I'm giving them well over. I'll accept any goods. But if it's bad, I get to make it good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you get it? It's the contract that you're buying, and if it's good, you know it. You can qualify it. But if you don't know how to qualify it, then how do you know it's good? This is why I say you have to learn the language so you can determine if the contract is good. If the contract is good and it's going to show distinctly the various parties and it's going to name you as the benefactor, beneficiary, by God, let's move.
Yeah,
Because the beneficiary is indemnified.
And it's a beautiful document, Keith. I'm not sure if you are aware of it, but there's a beautiful document under when you Google "Are you lost at sea?" and they bring up what you just brought up, the maritime thing. In that document, because there's two separate. They got several of them on the internet, but there's only a couple of them that really kind of addresses what we directly talking about. But it tells you it's a beautiful letter that goes directly to the IMF to claim back those bonds, and to make everybody aware. And just like I said, where I went wrong from the beginning was try to fight the lion in his own den, and not recognizing that there's no way you can win, because
Right.
Going and hiring one of their corporate attorneys, they are all corporate attorneys, you recognize that the attorney is working for the court, and
The lawyers have taken away the key of knowledge.
Yes, and woe to them.
Yeah. So yeah, in the lion's den, see, we are extra jurisdictional right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are in this world, but not of this world, and that's why it's a spiritual warfare, but done by manual battles of forms in person, as well as in the physical man, and it's because it's a spiritual battle here with each and every one of us. So we have to conquer ourselves first before we can conquer a man or any other person, including our own. In coming into ourself and realizing who ourself is, that's how we conquer that man and person of ourselves, and now we can see others for who they really are.
Yeah, and there. Go ahead.
This is value and consideration. See, in value and consideration in the real world that I see is that we're supposed to both love God and fear God. And this is done through an image and likeness where I guarantee you, though I tell you stories about myself, that I've hit a man over the head with a shovel, stabbed another one in the back of the hand with my fork, there's certain reasons. But that shows you the danger that I can be, that there is something, an element in me that you should fear. Now that's an image and likeness in everybody I see, that they too have that same capability.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to fear them in a manner of respect, that I don't do something to them that I wouldn't have them do to me.
It's the simplest fucking thing. It's the simplest fucking thing in the world.
It's the equal consideration and equal benefit, where we both have the same value and consideration, because all glory goes to God. We are that image and likeness, and we should fear each other just as much as we love each other, just as we're supposed to love God and fear God.
That's right.
And that's where the value and consideration comes in this personal venue. You have to give it value and consideration yourself. If you go along saying, denying that the legal name is fraud, not wanting to have anything to do with it, and actually understand it for what it is, you're missing out. Because again, it's a very beautiful thing once you learn how to use it, because Jesus flipped the tables for a reason, and that's because he knew how it was being used, and that's what he was trying to teach, is that they're using the person against you. You are not that person. You are a spiritual being that has a greater creator in heaven You don't have to listen to these men and their stories. Every comment is known as invention, fabrication, and fiction. And again, we are conscripted like angels. We are not meant to be reading and writing. Did Jesus read and write? He didn't sign a motherfucking thing.
Say it. And not only that, I ask people this, well, a little common theme. Who name one being in that scriptural context that had a last name? And when you talked about the firm name and things like that, brother, I had never been to certain levels. I've never been further than just like the little city municipal court. But when I got into the county court and where they were trying to adjudicate on the estate, that's when I learned a totally fucking different thing on how they operate when they take you to certain levels of their jurisdiction.
Right. And if you remember the time of Jesus' birth, that if you do your research, you will find out that is when they started instituting the surname, and it's known as Jesus the Christ versus Jesus Barabbas.
Mm-hmm.
See, it was Jesus of Nazareth.
Come on.
But it wasn't Jesus of Barabbas. It was Jesus Barabbas. That was the institution of a surname under Roman rule. So we got to think about that.
Yeah.
The next part.
Beautiful.
The next part, like I said, in regards to issue, an instrument is issued or transferred. The beneficiary is going to transfer it. That's all he's doing. He's transferring the title, okay? Transfer of title to the proper person. For value, if the instrument is issued or transferred for a promise of performance, this is a performance bid, to the extent the promise has been performed and now needs to be paid. It's a payment bid. And then, of course, you've got what? The bid bond itself. The transferee acquires a security interest or other lien in the instrument other than a lien obtained by judicial proceeding, because we're putting our value into it. It's a foreign country money judgment. It's our judgment. It doesn't have anything to do with their judicial system except that, hey, you put this value, we're going to double that. Whatever you use as a base determination for that value, we don't care. You put this as the value, we're going to double it. Now, if you want to change your value system, go ahead. That's fine, because we're still going to double it.
Mm-hmm. And if you, and you know too, if you look at that sedm.org, but when you go into what's that website where they show they show all the use that you have done over time. What's the name of that damn website? It where they pull up all the corporations that have invested in that bond, and they're listed on this stock market list. Let me think of this. I've said it a million goddamn times, and you can go on there. I'm telling you, they got your name listed so many different ways, and it tells you all the companies that buy these bonds. Shit, keep going. It's gonna come to me.
Okay. So 3 says the instrument is issued or transferred as payment of or as security for an antecedent claim.
Yes.
Against any person. That's all 94 cases. All 94 fucking cases. Do you not understand, folks? If you think I don't know what I'm talking about, please get up on panel and show me. I'm not going to believe you. I'm going to interpret my research and discern it that that's exactly what I'm talking about. Whether or not the claim is due, because I haven't made the claim yet.
Mm-hmm. And another thing too, like there's 3 questions that you can ask these motherfuckers in their jurisdiction, because see they're making a claim on the decedent's estate because you were an abandoned property and you didn't come forth within your 7-year right of claiming your estate. and it only goes up to age 25. Just like they talking about this selective service shit and all this. Oh, we're gonna get the young people that are 20 years old to go into the draft and all this and that. That's because they're making claims on these benefactors' estates right now. That's why I say they're killing the kids so early now and attacking all the elders, because you got the ones who are the benefactors of the trust and account that are still living. They may be in their elder years or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So they killing off our mothers and fathers, but they attacking the babies. See, they really can't fuck with a man of my content, because I'm in the middle of the pot. See, you got those who knew and fondled it, and then you have those who have grown to learn it, and then you have those who have no awareness. So we're gonna kill off those who can become aware, and the ones who know, we're gonna kill them off, and the ones in the middle, what the fuck y'all gonna do?
Yep. So number 4 says the instrument is issued or transferred in exchange. Securities Exchange Commission.
Yes.
Okay. For negotiable instruments. Okay. And again, transferred by the benefactor in exchange for a negotiable instrument, or negotiable instruments, as in the situation with the credit union. If I'm a privately funded credit union in a contract agreement with them privately, so I can give them certain data elements and they can provide the negotiable instruments for my transactions simply by issuing any checks and stuff like that to utility companies, so that the credit is returned, and then also issue me that credit card, like I said, so that when I'm dealing with everyday finances with the local store or something, I can grab that receipt, sign it, and give it back to the other credit union member that has the banker's license to do such private banking.
Yeah, and that's the asset officer. What they call them, that's the one that is always somebody amongst the corporation that knows more than the lower ceilings, and they profit that, but see, they know that, they can do these things because of the lack of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Just like you have said, and many people have said, we all have like a 4th, 5th grade education on, how things move and operate. And it's because of so many distractions in our lives day to day that we don't have time to try to comprehend these things,
Yep. Well, that's what I like about this here, 3-303, value and consideration. It's kind of short. And if you understand what's being done in the simple terms, you haven't been given consideration yourself. So the instrument itself, or transferred in exchange for the incurring of an irrevocable obligation, as in reference to a revocable foreign grant or trust, to a third party, the beneficiary, by the taking of the instrument. Okay? Consideration means any consideration sufficient to support a simple contract. And as I said earlier, you have to make it good. The drawer or maker of an instrument has a defense if the instrument is issued without consideration. If an instrument is issued for a promise of performance, the issuer has a defense to the extent performance of the promise is due. You can't make me sign a document. You can't make me sign that release paperwork. And the promise has not been performed. Yeah. I never promised. You didn't present the fact that a promise was established other than your own promise, which is an obligation in other securities of the United States. If an instrument is issued for value, as stated in subsection A, the instrument is also issued for consideration. So again, double up the consideration.
Yeah, and they.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You know how the Treasury sells those bonds, right? The Treasury bonds,
Okay.
and those are called marketable securities. So
Yeah, they're
marketable
marketable. They're
security.
marketable. They can market them yet, but it only means they're at a stage that they are marketable. They have not been marketed. So again, this is in regards to that warrant that's attached to them. People don't want to buy them if there's no warrant.
Mm-hmm. Well, what it says is marketable securities are liquid financial instruments that can be quickly converted into cash at a reasonable price.
That's why
But,
they don't want to buy them if that warrant doesn't come with them, because they can't convert them then.
right, but back to the Treasury in the marketable securities, it says each auction is for a specific type of security, which is identified with a unique QSIP number. A marketable security is a Treasury bill, Treasury note, Treasury bond, tips, and FRNs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some auctions are the original issue first time when a specific QSIP is sold. So back to that Series 63 and these local guys and those options that they're trading. I mean, they're all, it's, I don't know how.
Again, understand it's real simple, guys.
Yeah.
They can't trade in your name. And what the bond is, like say in the failure to appear, is only $350. So that's
Yeah,
not
but
even enough to qualify to invest. So
but
what
that
they do is they pool it. Now they've got enough to invest, but in pooling it, they can't disperse to all those people. They name it in their name.
yeah, and just like you said, there is a pooling and service agreement when you're entering into the county jail or something like that. And
Right.
what they
It's an
And that's one
agreement
of
to
the definition
it's
of
an
options, isn't it?
right. It's an agreement to allow them to hypothecate your security. Hypothecation of
yes,
customer security.
yes,
Always recognizing you as the customer, the surety is the consumer.
mm-hmm, yeah, and that's why they manipulate it. Like if you haven't so-called, I mean they consider us to be foreign goddamn debtors from the jump, and until you get of age in order to actually contract, they really can't do anything to you. So when they're attacking the kids these days, that's contracting with a minor, and that's illegal anyway. So even if you haven't claimed your estate and you're a grown ass man, you're 57 years old, you still considered a minor. Because when you get that goddamn court paperwork, you don't tell me on the back of that motherfucker on that surety bond it says juvenile complaint or this and this and this and that. So that's contracting with a minor, which is illegal. So they're already bringing you in under the assumption that you are not of the age of majority. You're still acting in an infant state, and you don't have the mind to fucking fight.
Yep. Now, what I want to point out next is 13 CFR Part 115, Surety Bond Guarantee. Now, Title 13 of CFR says is business credit and assistance, small business administration surety bond guarantee. This is a small business concern. However, the problem with this is that this is Title 13 of the Code of Federal Regulations relating to business credit and assistance, whereas the actual codification of Title 13, we see administration, collection, and publication of statistics, census. Oh, goodness. Let's take a look at this. Exchange of census in. Goodness gracious. Well, let's take a look at administration. It says general provisions, officers and employees. General provisions, definitions, Bureau of the Census. See, it's the Bureau of the Census where the enumeration of birth happens at the state level. And when we look at Title 13, business credit and assistance, that's because the Bureau of Census is regulated by the Department of Commerce. Okay? Very simple. Savings clause. Transactions affected by this part or by this part 115, are governed by the regulations in effect at the time they occur. At the time they occur. Prepayment is for anything incurred in the future. You're covering your ass now instead of deferring a payment some other time by claiming to be a debtor. I don't have it. I don't have it. The next one. 15 U.S. Code. Again, 15 is foreign trade and commerce, and 15 U.S.C. 1 and 3 deals specifically with antitrust laws. That's why I mentioned Form 14-242 in regards to this violation or this failure to appear for jury duty, and then they sent me a notice saying that costs are taxed to the defendant. Well, that's a violation of trust because, again, you're trying to name the benefactor as a defendant when you clearly didn't have personal jurisdiction, and you're still placating that you're fucking stupid. So let's figure out who's stupid, me or you. Investigations and examinations of Form 14-242 is the form where you inform them that somebody's violating the trust. Power to subpoena and take oaths and affirmations, aid of courts, examiners, and reports. The administration may make such investigations as it deems necessary to determine whether a licensee. Again, that enumeration of birth says that you have to have a state ID or a license to perform commercially as a resident. That means you're under the administration. Just having a fucking ID. That prison ID is the same thing. It's just a displacement. You're now serving hard labor instead of working in the civilian force. Does that make it simple enough? I'm going to drop the link for anybody who might want to join the panel. Anybody's welcome. Feel free to come up. And so the next one I've got, like I said, in regards to the surety bond and the indemnification agreement, we're going to make good the person that's been defamed through a salvation, resurrection, and merger into a new name. Understanding the doctrine of merger, and this goes to that surety bond, we're going to merge that surety bond they have with an indemnification bond that we issue. Now we have issue for issue, dollar for dollar. Double up, baby. I see your 73 million and raise you 73 million.
Plus.
I love this shit, man.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to get out of that, and that's why they will try to get your ass out of there, because you bringing forth consideration which they can't indemnify for, because they don't have enough public bonds under their private sureties, because they are under surety as well. You know, they are the real sureties because they took that fake oath of office, but their oath of office is not to the people. Their oath of office is to the crown. These are all crown agents working for a foreign corporation, bringing us, the people, in, not knowing our true standing to even perform in their jurisdiction.
Right. I love when they get that look in their eye after speaking to you, and you're like, yeah, daddy's home, motherfuckers.
and this is where we get to talk about the extra jurisdictional elements. They're the ones that are extra jurisdictional. Okay, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Everything. The jurisdiction is the creation, the creator. However you want to look at it, the original source. That's the jurisdiction of everything. In that jurisdiction, we have the earth, and on that earth, we have all kinds of plants that came from the earth, all kinds of life that came from the earth. Okay? The fictional shit that came from the earth, the things that man created and put on the earth, even the things that other creatures might have made and put on the earth, the nests that the birds make, the dens and stuff that the critters hollow out and stuff. Those are their creations, and that's because of their very own creation gave them a set of rules and guidelines under the laws of nature and her God. Okay? So when it comes to the territorial jurisdiction and extraterritorial jurisdiction, like I said, we are in this world but not of this world. This is an extra jurisdiction to us. Again, it's a spiritual war. That's the original jurisdiction, spiritual. Then we have a manual jurisdiction, and then everything they're running is in a personal jurisdiction. They have to acquire personal jurisdiction, not manual jurisdiction and not spiritual jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction. So they are far removed from the original jurisdiction. And as a man, you have to recognize this so you can make that distinction and clarify that you are the go-between. You are the king. You are the trustee to the benefactors, which are the children of God, which you are one of. It has nothing to do with the persons. That is my public service to my brothers, my neighbors, to owe no man anything but to love them. And if I love them, I recognize that Leviticus 25, verses 23 through 25. The land shall not be sold forever, for it is mine, and ye are strangers and sojourners with me. And in all the lands of your possession ye shall grant a redemption to the land. And if your brother be waxen and poor and sold off of his belongings. Now everybody's thinking that they don't have any belongings and that they're a debtor. So obviously they've sold off their belongings, right? Then if one of his next of kin shall come by to buy back his debt, then he shall redeem him. So let's take a look at the doctrine of merger is a common law concept that landowners. Okay, so can you own the land?
No.
Okay, so we have a false concept we have to correct. The doctrine of merger is a common law concept that landowners that think they own the land, which really are just in contract, and industry professionals should carefully pay attention to in all real estate transactions, especially farmland transactions. One concept of the doctrine of merger addresses the unity of ownership in connection with an easement. Remember, I've been telling you it's about that easement. Who controls that easement? The Postal Service. And it's attached to an address for them to get to it. This is in regards to place and locality, the importance of the name and address. When the dominant and servient estates have common ownership, the need for the easement is removed and the easement is extinguished. Let me read that again. My mouse is not working again all of a sudden. I want to highlight this. What the hell? Anyway, when the dominant and servient estates have common ownership, the need for the easement is removed and the easement is extinguished. The easement is a border and it's extinguished so that you can freely move in and out. Psalms 121, verse 8. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Through the doctrine of merger, letting them know the land shall not be sold forever, for it is his. I'm just a stranger and sojourner with him, and I give redemption to the land. And I give redemption to my brothers who might have sold off their debts, or sold off their belongings and are in debt, excuse me. It's a simple process, and it's a common law doctrine of merger, not just a merger of, as it says here, landowners, but our brothers and sisters, the coming together in redemption. See, I believe the way it's set up, that once I get mine done under my private member association, all I got to do is just start tacking on beneficiaries. And it's a revocable trust, so I can change it. That means as I add on a beneficiary, I can change that amount to indemnify them as well. To provide documentation that will indemnify them until they grasp the concept and have the knowledge. See, it's a matter of not giving them a fish so they can eat for the day, but teaching them to fish so they can feed for a lifetime, so that they too can then turn around and teach others. Just like our brother Morpheus said earlier. Hit it, brother. Spot on. So, another concept revolves around a real estate transaction with the delivery and acceptance of an unambiguous deed. What's a deed? He did indeed do that. That's an act. His act. If not explicitly excluded, the real estate contract will merge into the deed, and certain rights and remedies included in the contract may be extinguished. That's why it's important to understand how they're doing those contracts and make sure they're not extinguished, that they are completed by holding the surety company that's required to make sure that they're completed, and that the contractors are paid, and that in that process, it doesn't damage or harm the beneficiary or benefactor. Everything stays. It's prepaid. Why would it extinguish anything? It's already prepaid. And guess what? I'm the one that's paying it. As third party. Customer. I customized it. I think it all makes sense when you start learning how the simple words are the best to use. Customer, yeah, I'm a customer. I customize everything I touch my hands on now. I let things be known, so it's not ambiguous. It's unambiguous. Go ahead, brother.
We customize and they fabricate.
There you go. They fabricate, we have to learn how to customize. Otherwise, what they fabricate is our own manufacture. The next one. Surety bond coverage. This is from National Credit Union Administration. Total assets of 0 to 4 million. That's the minimum bond. That's total assets. The minimum bond is a lesser of total assets, or $250,000. Total assets of $4 million, $1 to $50 million. Minimum bond is $100,000 plus $50,000 for each million or fraction thereof over 1 million. See, they're giving you a rate table here. Total assets of $50 million, $1 to $500 million. Minimum bond is $2,550,000 plus $10,000 for each million or fraction thereof over 50 million, to a maximum of 5 million. Total assets over 500 million, 1% of assets rounded to the nearest 100 million, to a maximum of 9 million. So these are like the local bonds for your municipality, where your credit union that you're going to contract with, and they have to have a association with the National Credit Union Association for this rate. A private funded credit union would need to purchase additional or enhanced coverage when circumstances warrant. What is a warrant? A warrant is a need. It means it's a necessity. When circumstances warrant, means it's a necessity. Get a goddamn thesauruses and a dictionary out. Look them up and figure it out, folks. The organizing group should perform an internal risk management or risk assessment and consider factors, benefactors, such as the amount of cash on hand, cash in transit, and the nature and risk inherent in any services offered, such as automated clearinghouse, wire transfer, and remittance services. These are the services your credit union is going to afford you, is your automated clearing for settlement, wire transfer, so it's guaranteed, and remittance services, with your local utilities that keep giving you those remittance coupons. Evaluate whether insurance coverage is needed for credit union operations not covered by your surety bond. You find out what their surety bond is, and you double it. Same with the state, county, federal. Find out what their surety bond is, double it. The next one, establishing proof of concept. Now, what I did with the city council in regards to this Hitler's willing executioners, you guys have seen, I hope, my series on Hitler's willing executioners. I had a nice little book, and it wasn't the first copy. I'd actually had one copy where I gave it to a friend to read, and I never got it back. So I got another one. And lo and behold, I think that's a very important concept. So rather than me just getting a book and keeping it myself, I gave it out to city council, hoping that somebody else would take it upon themselves to read it and do the same thing, pass it on. In the meantime, if I ever need another copy, I'm freely willing to go ahead and get another copy. I'm sure I can buy one, or somebody will donate a copy to me like they did the last one. It's about spreading the knowledge. So just like I expressed to them, I gave them a proof of concept and an outline to hopefully one day be able to provide a community program through the Grout Museum down here in studying the national heritage importance of this community as one of the 7 nations determined as a national historical community because of the 5 Sullivan brothers. You should read about it sometime. 5 brothers from Waterloo area all joined the army, all joined the military at the same time, were shipped off on the same vessel, and all died on that same vessel in World War II. Changed some military laws because of that. Anyway, phase 1, establishing a proof of concept. Complete these activities first. The purpose of the proof of concept, which is your proof of claim. You can present your concept, which you claim to be true and factual, because of what you know, not what you believe, is to demonstrate that your concepts for the new credit union is well thought out and contains 4 elements that are critical to the success of the credit union. Notice that's lowercase. These areas are usually the greatest challenge for organizations, groups to overcome. Organizing groups to overcome. You should use the research you perform and the information you gathered to define your private funded credit union. That's what I'm doing. I'm providing the information and research for the last 8 years as a basis for completing your proof of concept, demonstrating to the NCUA that your proposal is well thought out and contains the 4 major elements crucial to success, right here. Before I want to get onto it, though, I want to go back to this. It says credit union, whereas we have this term right here, union. There's a difference between utility, united, and union. Understand this. It's very important to realize here. There's a distinct difference between the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, just like there's a difference between unity, unity, united, and union. I used the wrong term earlier. I didn't mean utility. I meant union, united, and people that don't understand the English language for its trilogy might want to pay attention to that. Premise, promise, and mise. What is mise? It's a bet. Premise is a pre-bet. Promise is a future bet. Premise is prepaid for what needs to be paid and not deferred paid. Is it due and owing? That's what the credit union should distinguish through the purpose and core values of bringing equity. Purpose and core values, field of membership, amount and source of startup capital, and PFCU subscribers. Like I said, I should be able to start my own credit union as a privately funded credit union and bring in subscribers as beneficiaries to help them learn the process as well. This is what they're asking. What have you learned? Proof of concept. Show us your research. Proof of concept, critical element 1, purpose and core values. You have to have an intent and your core values. Where do they come from? Do they come from your core, your heart values? Federal credit unions are cooperative associations. Proof of concept, critical element 2, field of membership. As described earlier, the field of membership is the common bond of the group or groups of people the PFCU intends to serve. This is my public service, and it's an educational forum. It's not going to cost you anything. The field of membership defines those persons and entities eligible for membership. The only persons or groups within the field of membership and a few others by virtue of their close relationship to members may join the credit union. Proof of concept, critical element, capital funding plan. The actual costs for chartering and operating a federal credit union vary depending on the unique circumstances in which the PFCU plans to operate. Privately, always privately. I'm not going to charter. I'm going to issue the security instruments required to indemnify me because I don't need to operate as a federal credit union. I have an equal station. I'm in fact the creditor unto the nation of which the federal credit union is operating. I'm the one that is in contract privately with the federal credit union through the National Credit Union Administration with a local credit union. It trickles down. That's why they're a credit union. They got their authorization from the federal credit union already. Now I'm in contract with it through a trickle down. The 4 bonds should work the same way. Planned product and service offerings. Remember, the product is the warrant, and it becomes your own product now. And you're going to keep it. And service offerings. The only service I offer is education, and like I said, it's free. However, you will abide by the contractual obligations of the indemnification. If you harm me, it will cost you. The delivery mechanisms for products and services, staffing needs, and proposed field of members all factor into these costs. So like I said, when I start taking on subscribers as beneficiaries, I indemnify them too, so it changes the costs. Critical element 4, subscribers. The NCUA will review each submission to determine whether the organizing group, and remember, it's an organizing group. It's not organized yet. Like I said before, I'm not organized, nor am I incorporated. Identified at least 7 individuals to serve as a PFCU subscribers. So I just need 7 people, or they need 7 people to go into business. Now I become one of those subscribers. Now I take under 7, and I can show I can run by myself privately. It's a matter of knowing how to issue those instruments. However, I don't have a private license, nor am I privately certified, so I can still remain connected with that private credit union, teach people under me as subscribers, and then they can go out and get their own credit union account and start doing the same thing. Ideally, the subscribers will collectively have sound understanding of or backgrounds in accounting, finance, business, and banking or related fields. Sound mind, a comprehension, and it is comprehensive in that manner. You have to comprehend it. The next one I've got is the last one, and it comes from the United States Code again. And again, like I said, and if we're talking about Title 15, Foreign Trade and Commerce, and it's trust law. Title 22 is Foreign Relations, as it goes to the Relator, United States Agency for Global Media, Privacy Act regulation, correction or amendment of record. 22 CFR 505.7. You have the right to request that we amend a record pertaining to you which you believe is not accurate, relevant, timely, or complete. At the time we grant access to a record, we will furnish guidelines for you to request amendment to the record. Requests for amendments to records must be in writing and mailed or delivered to the Freedom of Information Office or Freedom of Information Act / Privacy Act Officer, Freedom of Information Act / Privacy Act Office, Office of General Counsel, and not the highest counsel, which is certainly above general, particular, or specific. Broadcasting Board of Governors. Everybody has a right to broadcast. Just like I spoke about with the postal, reconciling the master trust account with the Postal Service, that's called a narrowcast trust report. And that's what they're supposed to amend, is the out of balance accounting. Suite 3349, 330 Independence Avenue, Southwest Washington, D.C., who will coordinate the review of the request to amend the record with the appropriate offices. Such requests must contain, at minimum, identifying information needed to locate the record, a brief description of the item or items of information to be amended, and the reason for the requested change. The requester should submit as much documentation, arguments, or other data as seems warranted to support the request for amendment. It's warranted that in 94 cases where I've been identified as a member of the official public trust as a servant would be wrong. I am the priory, superior estate, in which the presumption that the probated estate was myself and that I myself was subject to administration in probate. We will review all requests for amendments to records within 20 working days of receipt of the request and either make the changes or inform you of our refusal to do so and the reasons. What do you think, guys?
Seems pretty simplistic to me, but you're all over it as usual, you know.
I think we have a lot of resurrection to do within our families and within our own selves, because this is an individual quest for knowledge and understanding, whereby we have all been obliterated from knowing the principles that we should have been taught a long time ago, but it was an intentional undue influence on us that has allowed after everything that you've been through in your life, when are you going to come to a point where you stand and ask the question? After you've done everything you can, the only thing you can do is stand.
Yep. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our stream here. Like I said, that private issue is your own creation. You're going to make it. And as John says, those that create control. So what's happened is the United States created a surety, a United States citizen, known as the United States business.
Yep, and if they can name you, they can claim you.
And all you have to do is indemnify it. I'm sorry. I recognize there's an error in the record and you created this and it's been held to a public liability all these years. Here's the 94 cases showing it. I didn't realize what was going on. Now that I have, here's my research, proof of concept. You need to go back and fix these elements in the record, and that itself will remove these elements and show that, guess what? Those were bad investments, but I'll cover them. Because I want what you took already. I want that back. So if I put that in and I get that back, anything extra is supposed to come back too, because that's also to my credit. So read Deuteronomy 15 in whole.
And out of the mouth of two witnesses, which is me and John, in this recording right here and now, that is a basis for treason. All you need is out of the mouth of two witnesses, and we have witnessed through your transmission, as well as those who are now listening to my voice have witnessed my transmission, and we all have a story or a timeline of events that we have all been victimized to. And now it's time for the people to come together with recognition of these events and make things whole.
Yep. And damn it. What the hell happened?
You know, King Morpheus, I believe that's what El Perro said your name was. It's been a pleasure, brother, to hang out with you here today. I know Wiz is getting ready to get off of here, but I wanted to jump in and take that time because it has been a pleasure, my friend, and I just want you to know that.
I appreciate you too as well, man, and I've heard your transmission over the years and over the months since you came onto this platform, and I appreciate you as well.
Much love, brother.
Absolutely, guys, absolutely. And so I'll have to, wait a minute here. Let me pull something else up before we go out, because I did have one other thing I wanted to show you guys. I thought I posted it to my YouTube, but evidently I haven't. So let me pull it up off the other site.
Greetings, TML.
Yes, greetings everybody down in chat. I appreciate everybody's support. While we're taking a break to pull this up, I want to thank everybody for your support. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe. There's a PayPal button down below for anybody who wants to share some love. And of course, we're coming to the end. So go ahead and feel free to hit the StreamYard link to come up and join the panel if you want. I'm certainly willing to sit around and talk. It's just that we're done with the content unless anybody wants to expand upon further. And in the meantime, like I said before I get going, there's Iman. Greetings, sister. How are you this evening?
All is well, beloved. The Spirit just told me to jump on, so here I am.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. So in my concept, like I said, proof of concept earlier, and this isn't fully qualified yet. It's just a simple breakdown that I've got right now. It says, one who seeks God must first come with God, clean spirit. One who seeks equity must first come with equity, clean heart. One who seeks peace must first come with peace, clean hands. One who seeks love must first come with love, with clean conscience. These are the viewpoints of my standing, patently done in good faith. For he spake, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun. This is the prepayment. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Again, prepayment, prepayment, prepayment. Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. Add thou not unto his words, lest he reprove thee, and thou be found a liar. Again, prepayment. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Again, prepayment. Here's the distinction, and that is the parable of the talents. But he that hath received one went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. His Lord's money. The foreign country money. The parable of the talents. Thou oughtest therefore to have put money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine with usury. Like I said, it's a usufruct system. We're using his shit. Give all credit to God, and let the exchangers know it, for it's the Lord's value. That's what I coin my lips with, or coin my words with. Take nothing for your journey, neither staves nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither have two coats apiece. On that journey with him, we bring the message that the land shall not be sold forever. For the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me, and in all the land of your possession ye shall grant a redemption for the land. And if thy brother be waxen poor, and hath sold away some of his possessions, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. That's your power. It's a force majeure, not a physical force. Therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. We are prophets unto the nations. We are supposed to teach them the word of God, rightly dividing the word of truth. That's all it takes. We don't have to read and write. We already know the words. And they're simple words that we've learned vocally, orally. You learn how to speak before you learn how to read and write the words you're speaking. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. That's faith, quenching the fiery darts. The faith is water. Water is the energy. Water is that gives everything its force and power. That's where the power comes from. Don't dry and wither out. And take the helmet of the salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, every breath you take, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. That is the spiritual investment. By virtue of the living soul, through nature's God, natural creation, to live by principles of the law of nature, it is hereby opined. The law is construed to be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. The law of nations, otherwise known as the principles of the law of nature. Proof of concept, how to make money. Coining one's words in truth, lest they be pursed by thine own lies. Do not add unto nor take away. Take note of the following notations. Paper is bonded by weight. It is known as commercial paper, as negotiable instruments, can be written on them, including napkins, toilet paper, postcards, etc. Negotiating by bringing peace in treating each other equally, mano a mano. This is the equal considerations and equal benefits of contracts that express trust. This is what I was talking about earlier. You need to learn how to understand that your image and likeness of God, both loving God and fearing God, that other man that you're looking at that you want to contract has the same thing. You have to give them equal consideration, spiritually, manually, and personally. Law of the flag, whereby the Global Postal Trust Services, it is a priority to discern this wording correctly, as it is a trust that incorporates contracting services. It's a constitutional trickle down. How do we know this? Postal Regulatory Commission under 5 CFR 575.102. It's the commission of their deeds, their acts and deeds. Not mine. Okay, they're the ones that committed them. And they are in commission of those very acts and deeds today. They have a fidelity bond with all the nations for any criminal acts that their public servants might perform against the benefactors. This is why I believe that that title of the surety is supposed to be sitting in the Postal Service's hand, as the Postal Service, the United States Postal Service, is the registered agent under 5 CFR 575.102 of the federal government. Federal government means all entities of the government of the United States, wherein that's a United States business named as a surety, as a citizen of the United States.
Yeah, and we want.
See, that was sent to us. It's supposed to sit with the Postal Service to qualify the fidelity agreement that's already there and recognize it as being indemnified on the other side by the being that they're not supposed to be even communicating with. And that's evidenced by the Postal Realty Trust, Inc., that has the Securities Exchange Commission filings as a Postal Realty Trust, Inc. And that's the confusion of using the legal name with the address. You're investing in proprietary information of the Postal Realty Trust. And that's committing a crime. They're holding it against you because you're the surety. Or are you? Postal Service Board of Contract Appeals, that's that Judicial Officer Department, which is a independent and neutral forum within the United States Postal Service, the registered agent, comprising of the judicial officer, the administrative law judge, and the Postal Service Board of Contract Appeals. For such contracting officers at contract postal units using Military Board of Contract Appeals because they're men with selective service numbers. And Civilian Board of Contract Appeals for those men and women that are using that Social Security number as public servants. Securities Exchange Commission. Securities exchanges are money exchanges in the most basic sense. Stamps and other representatives of value, as we see under obligations and other securities of the United States. It's a plain writing from comma to comma, all lowercase, stamps and other representatives of value. You have a greater value it slipped me now. A fortiori, a greater truth, a greater fact, and that is that all glory goes to God. How can you value that if you can't even consider him in your mind? And then if you consider him in your mind, you can't even conceive him in reality because it's so confounded. Yet you consider him in your mind and your heart, calling yourself a Christian. Represented by obligations and other securities of the United States in special maritime territorial jurisdiction for vessels of the United States, contracted postal units, because it's a United States business and everything posted is a part of the United States as a citizen.
Yeah, and that's why.
A United States citizen is such vessel as opposed to the vassal living soul. The soul on a journey with him. The sojourner. Blessed to make a journal of such travels. Bound by those very words, unless expressed otherwise. So in other words, my yea is my yea, my nay is my nay. And if you express them otherwise, I have the ability to have them corrected or amended if you misinterpret them or misstate them and cause any defamation. So make sure when you talk about me, you know how to rightly divide the word of truth. Because if you don't, I will.
Yeah, and
Enumerate. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and there's a thing such as a total postal recall that can be done for all the enumeration done under that certificate of life, that certificate of birth. Ever since they have been enumerating you and you first got qualified to be amongst that postal service, that postal system, all of those, all those are bonds that have been issued in the name of the infant.
Yeah, and that's automatic and mandatory declassification. Department of the Defense Form 715. I don't know if that's the same thing you're talking about, but it's a military classification to begin with at a military hospital. And of course, you go to school, and that's a military school. Look at your report cards. It's got the last name first and then the first and middle initial. Okay?
Absolutely.
Enumeration at birth, and that's where I referenced the chart for the state's vital statistics jurisdiction, where it shows that through the enumeration at birth, it's a dissemination of information among military government offices, agencies, and departments.
Yep, and that's what I was trying to say earlier when I went through the longest little administrative proceeding that they tried to do on me this last time. They gave me what they give the prisoners, which is called their jacket, and it had everything I had done from the playground to today. And the only reason why they couldn't eliminate me and take me off the planet to make me a full surety was because I had no juvenile report. When I was a child, I did nothing wrong. There was no record of any juvenile complaint. But I've had brothers and sisters of mine who have went through the same thing. When I say they go all the way back to the playground, they go back to the very first time them motherfuckers at the school bring you in that office and they make that first motherfucking report on you. You hit the little girl in the class, or your mother had to come to conference or this and that. They are putting.
Well, yeah, it's all going to the Commission Core of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
Everything is a health issue. So if there's a physical assault, it's a health issue. Okay, that's what damage and injury is. Even if you have a car accident and it damages the car, were you injured? Most often, yes, but sometimes you're not. But it still relates to a health and human services. Everything in this commercial system, you're using the damn Social Security number. That's health and human services first and foremost.
Yep, and people get insurance these days. They get these new cars, my wife included, and all the rest of these fleet people. They'll go get the highest motherfucking premium damn insurance, and they don't understand. It's supposed to be the protection of the men and women inside the vehicle, not the motherfucking vehicle.
Yep. And why would you get insurance bonds and, like, say, some of these rich people, they get these insurance, life insurance policies. Then they use the system to invest in the life insurance policy and acquire all this wealth. Why would you do that if you've already got a way to indemnify everything? See, that's, that's just wanting to that's pedantic. You're wanting to do all this paperwork because you have the knowledge. Again, I'm urging everybody to go the other way and make things simple.
Right, and like my wife, I found out a couple years ago, my wife I got an indemnity bond from her job in my name, in case of death or whatever. $500 some $1,000 motherfucking insurance policy. But she don't understand that insurance policy is between her and Beaumont. It don't have nothing to fucking do with me. So
Right, but she also doesn't understand the principal amount on that isn't $500,000. That's a portion. The principal amount, which belongs to her because it's in your name or her name, one or the other. It can't be in the insurance company's name.
That's
so
right.
It's the principal is actually in your name or her name. I'll be damned. That's what was it? $250,000 for $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's $500,000, that's $8 million.
Exactly, and I told her, I said,
comparatively.
Yep, and I told her I'm putting in my motherfucking death certificate next week.
Yep. So we continue on, and we've got, once the Commission Corps of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, through that state's vital statistics jurisdiction, gets that information. They've got that established. There's a Social Security number established, which is an IRS number, a taxpayer identification number. So that's all done in one shot. That's all created. Then you turn around at 18 and sign a surety bond agreement without knowing the warranty, guarantee, and indemnification. Go ahead, sister.
The question that I have, brother, is that I've been hearing them say that the birth certificate is a death certificate, but when I researched to inquire, I'm not getting that information. So is there any way that you can expound on that for me? Thank you.
When mom, sometimes they'll have it on the form itself, application for birth and death certificate. It's an application for certification, and the birth certificate itself, issued upon enumeration at birth, is just evidence itself of an application as well with an intent. If you're going to have a birth certificate, then the intent would be presumed that you want a death certificate when the person dies too. So it's just a presumption.
So a friend of mine's just lost one of their parent and so they already went through the process of the funeral and the memorial and all like that, and I believe they got a death certificate. But how does that affect the situation between both? Because if it's the birth certificate is a birth and death certificate, how does it apply to when someone expires the death certificate to be used?
Well, knowing what the death certificate is, it's the permit to transfer the body. So in knowing that, again, we're talking about transfers, and those transfers are actually supposed to be done by the benefactor. And so when we actually issued the birth certificate, that was a transfer of property. In that case, it was property known as the estate. The death certificate permits the transfer of the body that created the estate.
Yep, and whoever, the one, and that's where the churches and the hospitals and the schools all play in together, because they're all connected.
Right, and it has to do with the health conditions as well. Again, because if that person dies and they die of some kind of communicable disease, what they're placating is they don't want you burying that body on your property. They want a morgue to have possession of that body for health concerns, right? So that they can have the coroner examine it and make sure it's safe for the public to bury it in the ground or to dispense of it otherwise. This is why we do cremations now.
Yep, and the one the pastor the so-called reverend or pastor that does the eulogy, they are the ones who are claiming the estate. Okay, they are coming in, stepping in as fiduciary over the estate and over the account. And because we don't now see, they can't go in, even though they're perpetrating, they can't go in and claim the full estate because they don't have any blood right to it. But they can get securities every quarter for the rest of your duration. That means even though you dead, they can still draw from that estate, and until that contract is closed out. So and until one of your heirs or beneficiaries steps forward to claim the estate, they will be the ones who are receiving the benefits that should be going to the heirs.
Correct. And this is where the revocable trust turns to an irrevocable trust and is held in abeyance until that said beneficiary comes forth and makes that claim, like you said. So
you need to go holler at that damn pastor at that church and tell them to give you. You need to receive all the beneficial interest needs to revert back to the estate, and you need to make an estate claim, because what they're going to do is they're going to go in and probate the estate. See, what I did on my wife's mother's deathbed, none of them knew nothing of this. I had her at her last breath sign power of attorney over the estate to my wife so that she could be the heir apparent to because she's the oldest, but she's not the firstborn son. The first prodigal son, he was in prison, so he couldn't claim the estate, but she claimed the estate with power of attorney from her mother, and held on to the obligation until her brother was released. But because he was considered to be a decedent while he was in prison, he's still not alive. Ever since he's been returned to the land after doing 15 years straight, they won't give him any of his securities. He has to work under some corporate jurisdiction ass bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't understand when they take your ass to prison, they are taking a decedent, and they consider you to be a thing. If you look at anybody's prison record, you're gonna see they are listed as a thing.
Yep.
Well, how does that work when they talk about in conjunction with a habeas corpus, and a habeas corpus is supposed to be producing of the body? How will that work?
Well, what you would have to do was you would have to take it to a higher administrative court or Article 3 court. If you don't want to hold your own court, you can take it to an Article 3 court and have a proper burial, if you will.
Right, and this is where your next of kin, again through redemption, can express a revocable trust, because as next of kin, you are inherent to that property, and that includes your familiar bodies. So again, this is why a lot of people are going to not burying them, but cremation.
Right, and that's why. Right, and that's why. And I don't agree. And see, I consider that to be a burning sacrifice. But that's why you have ambulance chases. That's why, like everybody that has transitioned in my family, and I'm sure when I say this, it's going to ring a bell with many of you. But I received from the funeral home, because you got to understand, we are all attached to this postal service, right? And they know from the hospital from the cradle to the grave, they know these things, right? They on 2 occasions now, and I had to bring this out to my family. On 2 occasions, they send out the funeral directives in preparation before they even leave the planet, because they're connected with that hospital, and you know how the preacher always comes to the hospital and do this and that after somebody died.
Look, last rites.
Yep, they already connected. So they know the hospital is giving the funeral directors in the funeral home access to certain documentation before you even know. When you have a terminal illness, the funeral homes are contacted, and then now they send you out a solicitation for your burial right, and then they bring you and your family into this congregation around each other around the table where y'all sit and fight over how we gonna bury such and such and such and such, when you already have a prepaid motherfucking account, and it's already solidified. But they're double dipping by bringing you in, trying to extract whatever they can from the family, when the state is the ones who are in possession of the body.
Yep, and that goes the same thing when you're born. Pay attention. That's create a private surety bond granting indemnification for equal consideration in formation of contract. This is from UCC 2-206. Offer and acceptance in formation of contract. It's contract form. That's when mom went into the hospital and registered in a spell of illness, which is a contract for inpatient hospital treatment beginning the first day. In that, she is responsible for the baby, but because it was abandoned, now the doctor delivered it, abandoned baby without a father, and I'll be damned if it wasn't supplied inpatient hospital services the first day and implemented a contract of a surety. However, mom never gave indemnification. Dad never came and gave indemnification. So let me finish this real quick, sister. It says, that's what mom did when bearing labor of his good work. And in good faith, she trusted the doctors. That act, the deed itself, was an expression of trust. So it was an express trust, and it is revocable because you can go back and fix it. All done in a spell of illness that transferred a private estate as a surety to a material estate, the lesser estate. You have a superior priory estate that was created in a material form, which is the lesser estate. Okay, all real and personal effects shall encompass the entire estate. The material estate is not the entire estate. You have your intellectual thoughts that are still being conceived. It is much greater than that piece of paper. It is adding value to that paper every breath you take, entitling it in public an extraterritorial place within their special maritime territorial jurisdiction as a vessel of the United States for said obligations and other securities. This is 18 U.S. Code 7, 8, and 9. And by locality, identified by addresses of parties, the legal name with the address, as if they were a contracting party, as opposed to the benefactor obligee of the public trust service, general welfare and domestic tranquility. We live in this world, but are not of this world. We are extra-jurisdictional, and they went into extraterritorial and convinced us that that's where we're at, and that's who we are. We're not.
Yeah.
Our jurisdiction is provided in grace, the providence of His grace. That's the Lord's Prayer. A grant of manual jurisdiction is extra. This is where we have to earn our daily bread, being careful to maintain good works that are profitable and good unto man by constantly affirming His will. And the spiritual existence welleth over the manual existence in nature. Law of nations, it's a trickle down. Ever heard of a trickle down charger? It trickles down from the principles of the law of nature and her God, which is what the law of nations is considered. In being humble, the people accept all they need and want, not for more. With the ego of knowledge, they can end the suffering of their brothers by redemption. This is known as the balancing. You have to understand how to be humble and use your ego in enforcing the knowledge so that you can't be humiliated by somebody pointing their fingers at, well, that's not true, da 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 da. No, it's simple objective truths. You can't deny it.
Yeah, and they know the order of intimidation and how many people, because of the educational system and the dumbing down of us and us not having this requisite knowledge, they know these things. So if there's one being in the family who has possession of this type of knowledge, he becomes a threat to the system, but also you can become a threat to your own family. And that's why everybody needs to try to come together and act on one accord, so that, you need at least one somebody outside of that cage. When they put you in that cage, you need somebody on the outside who can help defend your rightful place. And
Yep.
that's what they're afraid of. So,
yeah, and what they're even more afraid of, let me pull it up before we go on here. You make a very good point there. And what they're more afraid of is John 8, 14 through 20. John 8:14 through 20. Jesus answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true. For I know whence I came and whither I go. But ye cannot tell whence I come and whither I go. Ye judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And I've said this many times. I don't hate any of you. I love you all. What I hate is the things we say and do to each other, our acts and deeds. That's what I hate. I don't hate you specifically. I hate the things we say and do to each other, and know that I include myself in that. No one's perfect. And yet, if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. I'm a sojourner with him, concurring again with Leviticus 25, verse 23. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am one that bears witness of myself, and the Father that sent me beareth witness of me. You have to recognize the image and likeness that the same Creator that sent you sent me, and he's going to bear witness to the truth. He's the final judge. He's the one that gave the righteousness, and my righteousness is of him, and I will let no tongue prosper against me, and I will rise up and get in anybody that places false judgment. That's my inheritance.
Yes, and because he leads your steps, he already knows which path you shall take. Now, if you walk off the path that was given you righteously, because even a baby knows right from wrong.
Yep.
I believe that's an obligation of us to protect that will and legacy.
Yep, and that's why I say you have to demand your birthright by knowing what it is and what your legacy is. Your birthright is your mother. Your legacy is the story of your father and your mother and the nations that came together in his word as a union, sanctified and ordained as prophets themselves unto the nations, meant to raise up children in preaching his word to them. Because if they don't, then they will be destroyed by lack of knowledge. And if they're not going to be a priest unto him, he will deny them. And if they're not going to teach that priesting unto their children, he will deny their children as well. Again, the benefit is the knowledge that you have to teach.
Say it.
So the next one, it says, Then they said unto him, Where is thy father? See, they didn't recognize him as an image and likeness, which is the very profession of the scriptures. Jesus answered, Ye neither know me nor my Father. If ye had known me, ye shall have known my Father also. That's a basic compound of image and likeness. These words spake Jesus in the treasury. You have to give the treasury notice. How do you give them notice? By their superior, the Securities and Exchange Commission, that allows the treasury to put out those very bonds that are supposed to be securitized with warrants.
And which has been recently merged with the IMF, because they took the Security and Exchange and the IMF and merged them together. So the IMF is the ones that hold all the records, bonds, and securities for each and every vessel on the land that is deemed to be alive.
They are the record keeper of credits, no matter what country they come from, as an exchanger of values, because they're just like the post office. They can exchange the values in credits. These words spoke Jesus in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. It's not due and owing yet. Okay? So let's go back. Oops.
All based on futures.
Yep. The deferment of a debt. So let's go back. Oops, which one is it? Which one is it? There it is.
And that's why I say, Keith, man, we could keep these little young people out here doing all these reckless things unabated. We could stop this shit overnight if they knew of the kingdom's inheritance.
Well, that's why I plan on going forth with the Grout Museum education program on Hitler's willing executioners, and I also want to do, of course, a thing on this. Some small seminars for the local community youth to help them bring them up in their estates, because that's what's missing in this public education system.
Yeah, and it has to be a collective effort, because even though you are sojourning, they are too. but we have all been cooked into this, you know, indemnity and identity of something that we are not. And because we have taken on these false identities, we too are participating with the lack of knowledge of such things.
Well,
Yep.
see, brother, that also brings in, like you said, and the lack of knowledge. When you look at Hosea 4:6, it says, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge." But under 42 U.S. Code 1395X, that's where we've been put under the spell of illness, that we need some identification, some licensure where we do not qualify for, because we have not taken any oath to do any performance of any official office.
Right, and
That's
that's where
right.
the English language, comes in with the public education. They remember the spelling bees and all the spelling lists. They didn't teach you the grammatical, the concise grammatical construction according to concise English in using full colon stops, um, colons, and hyphens. They
Yep,
taught
that's
you to use periods, exclamation marks, and commas, but they didn't
yep,
teach you the trust side, which is concise English. They taught you the legal English.
yep, and
Right, that is so true.
that's right, and that's why, excuse me, sis, that's why uh, elementary school is you were supposed to be learning about the elements. When you get to a higher standard of learning, once you learn the elements, now you can go forth in life and create your existence. And then you get to the university, and then you learn about the universe. But they confirmed that and reconstructed it into um, plausible deniability on their behalf, stealing those true interests in what we're supposed to be teaching a child. Because when you were in school, everybody did this. You took that little styrofoam cup, you put the dirt in it, and they put the seed in there, and then you set it in the window at the school, and everybody you watched it grow. Those are the principles of nature. See, and they were teaching you about the elements. See, but they took the element out of the mentary and put it into the cemetery.
Yep.
Well, see,
And,
that is so true, brother. I concur everything you said, because with the elementary, then they took you to what they call secondary school, which was the next level, and from secondary school was the high school, which was supposed to be higher education, and lastly, the universities after completion of the high school or the higher education.
yep.
There you go. There you go. And instead of that, they took you from the element and made you get high.
And gave you a number and took away your name, Johnny Rivers.
Yeah.
What was it? Secret Agent Man. You became a secret agent
Oh,
man, and it was
um,
secret to even you.
when you came out with that avatar, I used to crack up. I used to. All right.
So that is a private relief law by private placement of private issue, the indemnification, contracting, in an indemnification in contract form. And that is a private relief law by private placement of private issue, and I should have put for private equity as grantor of foreign grantor trust. It's a merger of trusts by equal consideration of surety and person. You're going to, again, it's a salvation process, resurrecting the defamed person and merging him in a new good name. You're going to make things good. Indemnification, forgiveness, and redemption is for the man. A resurrection and merger, a credit union, private funded credit union. That's what I showed you earlier.
And that's
And we,
what these funeral homes are doing. When these states and these counties, that's what they're doing. They're making once one of our people become a decedent, a true decedent, they're making a salvage claim on the estate.
yep. Remember, we are merely men, benefactors of the greatest benefit, choice of what we know. That's our free will, is that we come to know things, and that gives us a choice of what we can do. Better make them good. By
You know, not to interrupt you, brother, but this was really, it brings everything full circle because I remember, and I call him my corporate husband because he sought me out. I wasn't looking for the man at the time. And then I didn't know he was in the military until his ascension. But I remember one day I went to the doctor and I had to take this evaluation exam, and the doctor said I was the first one that he in all his practice that was very truthful, and he could see it from my evaluation on the exam. And he said to me, there's three professions I want you to know you should not involve yourself in. And he said, do not become an attorney, do not become a physician, and do not become a clergy. And now it's come full circle in our studies now with you all, brothers, that
Oh,
it makes very much sense to me, and I yield.
yep, yep.
you just brought chills over my whole neck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, there's certain things we shouldn't be by our psychology, and yet that's what we strive to be because of popularity contests. Think about it, folks. It's
Adam,
listening to the messenger. You want to listen to a messenger. You listen to the messenger, forget all about the message. You want to break down something in the message and then claim it against the messenger. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to rightly dividing the choice of words. One can more securely bind oneself in truth while neither being proud nor humble, but balancing the two at all times. Just if I, the scale of just I see.
Yes, that's why,
Ye-
like many people in my circle, they don't want to talk to me because they don't want to hear the truth. If somebody called me and want to have a conversation or ask me something about this or that, your girlfriend, your wife, your sister, your brother, they know I'm gonna tell them the truth, you know. And
That's,
the only people who come to me is the ones who want to know the truth.
yeah, and that's why I tell people all the time, you do not want to be my friend. Like I said, it's not you that I hate, but you're going to end up disliking me or hating me or disrespecting me or not respecting me. And I really don't care because the paramount, absolute priority in my life is dividing the word of truth. And if you're going to come to me and babble, I'm going to try to point it out to you. I'm going to try to do it nicely, but you're probably going to get hurt because I'm going to use distinct terms to make it as simple as possible. And that's going to hurt you. And that's the problem, not me.
Yeah, because most people, when you have a group of friends, you want to talk to the motherfucker that's going to agree with you, not the one
Yep.
that's going to tell you the truth.
Yep. They're
I
surety
believe
bond.
that free will is where that two-headed snake lies in the old head, and the intent of that man moving forward is quite clear.
Yep.
I mean, the record's already laid down.
And
Well,
what
if
is
you
done is
look
what
at it,
ought be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Express
Correct.
the trust.
exactly, and if you look at it, brother, as you talked about the two-headed snake, and you look at the caduceus, that is the symbol that they were in the medical for these
Yeah,
so-called physicians or doctors. And if you think about what I was told, all three of those professions, they have licensure as well as they have to take an oath for some type of an office.
Yep.
they have a right to kill.
So to go on, it says their surety bond is a public issuance as a public offer to exchange. Remember, we talked about the purchase order is an offer by a buyer to for you to sell something to them. They're a buyer. They're going to give you a purchase order, and that's a public offer to a seller in an exchange. What is it you're going to exchange with them for sale? Okay, this is their security. They're gonna buy the security and sell you the contract.
Yeah,
And in that
Balance.
contract, they're taking all your data elements to make an investment on.
Well, they're taking the rights, titles, and interest of the property, and the property is the name. That's what gets securitized. That's the surety name.
and they do it with no consideration.
Yep. Balance it with indemnification of privately issued surety bond for equal consideration of twice the amount of their surety total to securely intercourse with the public while providing one's onus probandi, one's bond, future bond, one's future bond. It's a prepayment. It's bonded for the future of privacy. One seeking equity must first come with equity. If one wants privacy, they must first come with privacy. You have to give them a private issue. You have to make a private issue. Material evidence. Everything so far is a public issue by accepting public accommodation, not the providence of the grace of the Most High. Can they provide that much?
No way.
If one seeks equity, they must first come with equity and not an attorney. Hebrews 6:13. Let's pull it up so I get the wording exactly correct.
Yeah, because if these people who are family members and otherwise knew of the things that we speak of, they wouldn't be in the practice that they're in. But because they have a low-level demonstration of education, they're able to use these people as a population control mechanism. Because now who like if every movie that you've ever seen in your life, who the first one to get killed? The motherfucking security guard.
Oh, yeah. Let me do 6 through 17, maybe.
The dummy at the front desk, he'd be the first one to go.
There we go.
Every movie.
Okay. So for Hebrews 6:13 through 17, for when God made promise to Abraham, that was the original promise. Because he could swear by no greater, he swore by himself, saying, surely, blessing I will bless thee, and multiplying I will multiply thee. And so, after he patiently endured over a time, he obtained the promise. For men verily swear by the greater, and an oath for confirmation is to them an end of all strife, wherein God more willingly more abundantly to shew unto the heirs of promise of the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath, that by two immutable things in which it was impossible for God to lie, we might have a strong consolation who have fled for refuge to lay hold upon the hope set before us. See, it's God that gives us the hope and faith, and he's the one that gave us the first promise and sealed it with his oath, the first seal, first oath, and first promise. And we have the immutable promise to seek his counsel. So if we seek equity, we must first come with equity. And that's to bring the word of God in all of their jurisdictions. That's how you come with clean hands, as the man walking in these jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they these so-called attorneys and lawyers, they are not taught this in their coordination. They are taught the total opposite. Lador. Sorry about that.
Yeah, like we said earlier, it's a bifurcation and subrogation. They made a split path on their records and then flipped it.
Hey.
Seeking counsel, seeking knowledge, seeking love, seeking peace, seeking to rightly divide the word of truth by knowing. And ye lawyers have taken away the key to knowledge, falsely binding us as men in unlawful corporate commercial contracts for investment purposes to create the money for which you love and is the root of all evil.
And that's
Keith, does that become the bifurcation that you're talking about?
The birth certificate itself is. It's given with as a surety of a probated estate, but it's never indemnified with a memorandum of law of coming in equity, peace, love, and all that.
Mm. And I'm gonna give y'all another little jewel. There was a guy some years ago on YouTube that they put out there with that little court situation, and he told the motherfucking administrator this right here. He you know, they do that coronation with a defendant please rise, and he stood in his place, and he had the fake attorney who was claiming to be the, you know, probator of his estate, which he didn't know, but he learned throughout the trial. He learned, and he asked the magistrate or the administrator. He said he said, I'll before I make any statement, I would like to address the court for the record. For the record. And then he turned to the fake ass attorney and he said, Mr. Peabody, are you still representing this estate in this moment? And the attorney said, yes. And then he turned and he looked at the administrator and he said, take the charges. Because the attorney is the one who's coming in to be the administrator over the estate, which he is he is not a part of.
So he's also known as a trustee. And in that, the judge is going to execute that probated estate, and that's executor des tort.
That's right. And so and what he and the attorney went to fucking jail.
Yep. So it says here, even though they've taken away the key to the root of knowledge, or the key to knowledge, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They were indoctrinated too. Redeem them through knowledge. This is the only way you can redeem anything, is by bringing forth a fortiori, a greater truth. Listen, you didn't buy the land. This church over here, this Waterloo community, or this Waterloo Christian School and Baptist Church, they didn't buy the land. What they did was bought a promise for the premises. The premises are the parking lot, and the fixtures all on top of the land. The land shall not be sold forever, and ye are strangers and sojourners with me. So if I'm traveling across the land and I have to go on top of their parking lot to get across that land, and he's sojourning with me, who the fuck are they to tell me I can't? Very basic simples.
Right, and the only thing that gives them that easement is the mailbox and the fucking address, because you can go into a private dwelling that you acquire through your own by your own right, and change the fucking fixtures. And you take all them fixtures with it, you take out that house and you replace them with your own new fixtures. Now you send them the motherfucking fixtures out of that motherfucking house, the toilet bowl, every motherfucking thing. You send that to them and the motherfucking mailbox and the address, and tell them to kiss your ass and take you off the motherfucking, because they got everybody's property listed as commercial, not private. And I remember calling the motherfucking county assessor's office and talking to the motherfuckers down there and told them, I said, excuse me, you got this address listed as commercial property. This is not commercial property. I need you to take that off of there and do this, and that. He didn't have nothing to fucking say. Because why? Because a motherfucker like me ain't supposed to know this, and he couldn't say nothing because I gave him the verbiage of the law, not no motherfucking statutes or codes. I said, this is not a commercial entity, because I was doing, you know, my kids can, you know, my daughter, you know, you're doing babysitting or this and that. They commit all of those things to a commercial asset, and therefore that gives the county an interest. And now that you take that shit off the commercial side and put it into the private side, they can't look at your They roll past my house all the time. They would see no address on my shit. They used to be like, damn. Because they don't, their easement now, when I take that off, when I take those addresses off and that mailbox off, their easement is that fucking sidewalk. And bitch, if you cross that gate, that's a direct trespass.
Yep. And so it comes down to this again, that Leviticus 25 verses 23 through 25. And again, I urge you to read Deuteronomy 15 in whole. Redeem them through knowledge. Act proudly as a trustee. a servant of the people, doing your public service, giving all glory to him as his benefactor. You can carry those two hats at the same time. They are fictional hats, and you can have both considerations at the same time.
That's right.
And as a benefactor, to receive the fruits of such righteous division, which favors the gathering of the people in a greater truth. Titus 3:8. This is a faithful saying that I will, that thou constantly affirm, that he who believed in God be careful to maintain good works, for these are good and profitable unto men. And in equity imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. What obligation are you going to fill? Are you going to fulfill a spiritual obligation, a manual obligation, or a personal obligation? If you choose a manual obligation and don't recognize the person or the spirit, you're probably going to come up against some kind of war. If you try to do it through the person with the man, you're going to get confused in the contracts. If you do it in spirit with the man without recognizing the person's around, you're probably going to get confused and denied. But if you do it correlating them all, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, you're going to realize the true spirit is the Father. The Son is the manual form in man, and the Spirit is not necessarily the person, but the people and all of their persons that you need to go around and redeem.
Yeah, and just like when them pirates pull you over on the side of the road, and the first thing they say, name and address. Why would you give a criminal the address where you lay your head? Now you just made your whole family, your whole household, a target. You know what I'm saying? Because I know family means a housebound slave or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. They say those things, but when we use it in our own context, that's what we're familiar with. But we understand what we as a people mean by family. But when they say family court, that means when they use that surname and they use Johnson, like my surname is Johnson, right? So when they put a charge against Johnson, that means every motherfucking body under that title.
Yep, the singular imports the plural, and the plural imports the singular. 1 U.S.C. 1, that's the insanity. They're calling forth the whole family. And no, I am not the whole family. That's the problem with connecting that surname.
Yes.
So anyway, that brings us to the end of it here today, guys. I've got the other one scheduled for 9 o'clock where we're going to go over that Securities Exchange Commission agreement that I found to help kind of walk us through what we've gone through here today in the last few weeks as it relates to real party and interest, prepaid expenses, all that kind of stuff. It's all correlating to this one document as it relates to equity on the private side. You're going to create your own private relief. And
Yep.
We are a law unto ourselves through knowledge.
And I hope to join you later, brother. And I'm gonna try to pull up, what I have too, because we've been friends, and acquaintances, through this internet for quite some time. And
Yep, I think it's going on 8 years or so.
Yeah, and I have so many documentations from yourself, and throughout the whole community, and so I'm gonna try to have that document available so that I can
Awesome.
interpret it. Well, help interpret. I just want to be a vessel unto you, in what we're trying to do and giving our people relief. I'm not trying to be somebody that comes on the panel and take over, but I appreciate.
Oh no, not at all, brother. It's I appreciate the import, and I like I said many times, I wish people would speak up a little bit more. Sometimes I might seem like I get frustrated, get cut off, but again, it's a matter of the details. So yeah, please stop me and we'll go over them, because I don't want anybody to misinterpret, nor do I want to be sounding stupid. So I urge anybody that has information that may be, like I said, a fortiori, something greater, then please stop me so you can help me, because like I said, I don't want to be an idiot either.
Absolutely, because we all students in this game, and I'm a forever student. To learning the righteous path, and me being born unto this world, it has always been my inclination. This is who I've always been, and many people across my life and across my path, and they was like, you different, and this and this and this and that. That's because I don't look the world through the TV. I learned how to turn that plausible deniability away and look at what's conscionable, what's actual reality. I have 12 grandkids. I'm 55 years young, and I tell you, I am so fortunate to be a part of these young people's lives. Man, we make songs, videos, and I talk the truth to them. I ain't giving them that gaga goo goo shit.
Yep. And
And
real
and
quick
that
here
is
before, go ahead.
and that is very true. I myself do the same, and mostly I do it in a question form so they can think well. And once they think it, they get the answer. They get it right away. So in my last union with a masculine energy and myself being the feminine energy, was at the Mount Zion Baptist Church, and I tell you, it talks about Zion in that in they what they call the book of instructions before leaving earth. Isn't that so?
Yes.
Yep.
Basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yep. So the last one I got here that I just want to skim over real quick is 10 basic components of a surety bond as it relates to exactly what we're talking about, the indemnification. They are just merely contract clauses underwritten for the surety bond. And scope of work, that's the proof of concept that the National Credit Union Association was talking about. In those insurance underwritings, they're going to have dispute resolutions, whether it be in contract form for arbitration or a claim in court. Substantial completion is to relations to the surety of the contract being completed. Um, Guarantee warranty for any kind of defects. Contract termination if it can't be completed. Performance guarantee for make sure your contractors are paid. And then of course latent defects, that things weren't observed before and they were underlying, and now that you've seen them, you have to bring them forth and correct any records. And of course, if there's in the correction of the records, it becomes an impossibility, then that contract has to terminate. Liquidated damages are amounts agreed upon by the parties to a contract that establishes the damages that can be recovered in the event, has a potential. One party breaches the contract. It allows the parties to negotiate damages before entering into the contract that may be difficult to estimate and provide certainty in the event of a breach. So provide certainty in the event of the breach by saying, hey, if you qualified it for 7.3 million, I'm going to double it. How's that for certainty?
Come on now.
Actual direct damages and consequential damages. So we have to think about this stuff. And again, they're actually very simple things to comprehend. So with that, we come to the end of our stream for today. Like I said, we will be back at 9 o'clock to go over that FCC agreement. What do you got on the way out, guys?
I'll go first. Again, a pleasure, King Morphus and Iman. I think that's the beautiful thing in these discussions. The more people get up here and get involved, and I think that helps a lot of people that are on this journey trying to figure out this shit that's been done. So, again, I look forward to more. I'm not sure I'll be around at 10, but we're going to try to be. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Much love, everybody.
Much love to you, brother. And
absolutely, you too. Thanks again for supporting.
Yep, and I just want to say to everyone, especially the sisters that just made those last comments. I wear this key around my neck I got a lion head and I wear this key. And ever since I had this key around my neck, it's one of them keys that look like you open a treasure box. And ever since I've had this key on my neck, all my grandchildren have been so attracted to this damn key. And my grandson keep on telling me, I want that key card, Daddy. I want that key card, Daddy. And I'm like, Well, you got a long way to go before you. It is.
Well,
I
well,
just want to,
brother,
get,
go on.
Well,
I'll finish up. I just want to give you this last part of the story.
well, when it comes to the keys, that's Isaiah 22:22. The key of the house of David I will lay upon his shoulder, and he shall open, and no one shall shut, and he shall shut, and no one shall open.
come on
And
now.
and that key is knowledge. The key, ye lawyers, woe to you, ye lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge, and that is the key. And the key of knowledge is to know God by seeking counsel in God. Whatever God it is you're seeking, you
There you
counsel
go.
in. It's a higher power than the man next to you. Do not trust in him. Like I say, do not believe me. Do not believe the neighbor. Do not believe the government. For crying out loud, do not believe your mother. Do your research so you know. Go ahead.
And the one of the last things I wanted to say was that um, my dad's companion, his last companion, was related to Stevie Wonder, and one of the songs I remember was written because they could not pronounce my one daughter's name, so the way they pronounced it is how he wrote the song. But the last after that song, he wrote the song in the key of life, and I did not realize my whole journey. A lot of the men and women that I was being connected with was again doing the same thing. We are creating our life story, and we are creating our story in the key of life. I
Yes,
yield. Thank you to everyone.
beautiful sister.
Yes, I think it's something like 7.2. Harmonic resonance, your pH balance. So anyway, you got anything out there, Morpheus? You got last words?
No, I give all credence to the Creator, and I appreciate you and this panel, and I look forward to your late evening diaspora.
Absolutely. All right. And with that, guys, you know me. I want to thank everybody once again for your support. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And like I said, there's a PayPal link down below, and any little bit helps. So go ahead and be sure to hit that and send a little love. And then, of course, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass if you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good day. See you
Thank you,
later.
brother.